Chapter 1498. I'm not angry. Gu Mingming was at a loss. Snake gritted his teeth and said, "If you're not angry, why do you have to hide our relationship? I tolerated it when you didn't allow me to say that I know you in school, but now that you've agreed to be my girlfriend, why do you have to make me look like a shameful wild man? Gu Mingming, did I embarrass you so much to admit that we're a couple and make it so difficult for you? Are you so unwilling to let others know that I'm your man?" No. Gu Mingming was forced back step by Snake's aura. She was extremely timid. Snake forced Gu Mingming to a corner and pulled her into his arms a second before she could lean against the wall. He frowned and said, "The wall is cold, don't lean against it. Stick to me." With that, he turned around and leaned against the wall himself. Then he locked Gu Mingming in his arms and continued to ask in a condescending manner, "Since there's no such thing, why don't you let me wear clothes with your name embroidered on it?" Gu Mingming was stunned for 2 seconds before she realized what Snake was doing. She was speechless for a moment and even laughed at him. "What are you laughing at? I'm talking about a serious question." Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "I'm holding your arm to attend this kind of event. Who wouldn't know about our relationship? Do I have to use a word to explain it?" "I do." Snake insisted, "I want everyone to know that I'm yours the moment they see me, especially those females. Tisk, do you think you're filming Animal World? Females." Gu Mingming smiled nonchalantly and said, "I'm saying that as a CEO, you'll be laughed at if you always wear the word Meng on your chest. How is this trying to hide our relationship?" "I'm Snake, who dares to laugh at me?" Snake raised his head and said arrogantly. Gu Mingming sighed helplessly and said, All right, if you don't want to change then so be it." Gu Mingming's hand gently touched the word on Snake's chest. Although it was childish, but it was undeniable that it gave Gu Mingming a sense of security. Only then did Snake's expression soften. He pinched Gu Mingming's chin and warned, "Don't try to hide our relationship. I want to stand with you openly. I want the whole world to know that you are mine. I will kill whoever dares to covet you. I also want the whole world to know that I'm yours. Whoever dares to lean on me, I'll kill their entire family." Gu Mingming felt that Snake's words were full of chuyuni. She only treated it as a joke and did not take it seriously. This was because she still didn't know how he had dealt with Mo Bei, nor did she know what had happened to her scumbag father. She only knew that Snake had money and power, but she didn't know that for her, Snake could fulfill every word he said. Snake was unwilling to let Gu Mingming sit in someone else's car. Only he could be responsible for her safety. Therefore, when the limited edition supercar appeared at the media meeting, it caused an uproar. This mysterious CEO of Monster Corporation rarely made public appearances like this. The first time he was exposed to the media was at the press conference for his abdication. But when the car door opened, the media were stunned. The handsome prince stepped down from the supercar with his 49 inches long legs. He opened the door of the passenger seat with a radiant smile on his face. He was like an elegant ancient European knight holding the princess's hand as they alighted from the pumpkin carriage. The little princess's face was filled with innocence and innocence. Anyone who saw her would want to protect her. When the two of them stood together, it was like a beautiful fairy tale. Was it really a press conference for the CEO's abdication and not an engagement ceremony? Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Regarding Gregory, everyone can rest easy. Don't be too upset. He's not dead. Chapter 1499. At the so-called media conference, Snake and Gu Mingming only showed their faces and allowed the reporters to take a few photos. The rest of the public relations were handled by the company's legal department and public relations department, so Snake did not have to worry about it. Inside the venue, it was the gathering of the so-called upper class. Although the Monster Company was nothing in Snake's eyes, it was already one of the top enterprises in the province. Not to mention how many people in City S had to bow down to it to make a living. Even the most influential people in the province had some form of business dealings with the Monster Company. So, a major event like changing the CEO was like an earthquake to S City, so they naturally had to attend and observe the situation. On the other hand, it was because the previous CEO of the Monster Company was too mysterious. After working together for so many years, everyone was extremely curious about his identity. How to put it, it was as if someone was strangling you by the throat, telling you to live or die, but you had never even seen the person strangling you, so anyone would be curious. So when Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and appeared in front of everyone, it inevitably caused an uproar. Who would have thought that the person who could beat up a group of experienced people to the point where they could not retaliate was a young lad in his 20s? How was there any sign of him being immature when he was so ruthless in the business world? He was clearly a wily old fox, a troublemaker. Snake did not care about what others thought, he just held Gu Mingming's hand and walked directly to the food supply area. He picked a snack for Gu Mingming and said, "Eat it if you want, why are you just looking?" Gu Mingming asked in surprise, "There are so many snacks here, how did you know that I want to eat this? Do you know how to read minds?" Snake chuckled and rubbed Gu Mingming's little head dotingly, saying, "I don't know how to read minds, but I can recognize the look you like, because you look at me like that occasionally." Gu Mingming blushed and lowered her head to take a bite of the snack. From the corner of her eye she saw someone trying to come forward to talk to Snake, but was blocked by the assistant behind him. All the social interactions were handled by the assistant, not giving anyone any chance to approach Snake. Gu Mingming felt that this was not very good, so she said softly, "I can just eat here, you can go and socialize, don't worry about me." Socializing? Snakel looked at Gu Mingming in surprise. He turned around to glance at the person who was trying to get closer to strike up a conversation. Without stopping, he looked back at Gu Mingming's face and pinched her little face, saying, "I am not here to socialize today, I am here to accompany you. We're together every day, do we still need someone to accompany us?" Gu Mingming mumbled in disapproval. "It's different today." Snake's gaze was deep as he said, "I have someone to introduce to you." Gu Mingming swallowed the cake in her mouth and asked softly, "Who is it?" "My parents." Snake answered casually, but it made Gu Mingming cough. The cake crumbs got stuck in her windpipe, choking Gu Mingming until her face turned red. Tears welled up in her eyes as she waved her hands and said, "I'm going to the washroom." "I will accompany you." Snake's face was filled with worry and helplessness. Gu Mingming shook her head and waved her hands. "I can do it myself." With that, Gu Mingming ran off without looking back. Chapter 1500. "Yes, I will take care of it." Snake's assistant replied succinctly. He did not even ask why it was not good before turning around to negotiate with the organizer. After that, the cake shop that was supposed to receive a lot of praise for hosting the Monsieur Company's press conference disappeared overnight. It ceased all activities in S City and not a single branch could be found. The reason was, the quality of the cake was not up to standard and it choked the precious daughter of the Monsieur Company's owner. Let's not talk about this for now. They would only talk about how Gu Mingming locked herself in the cubicle after entering the washroom. Her heart was beating wildly at first, but now she could foresee her tragic ending. It's time to wake up from Cinderella's dream. Snake could love her, pamper her and indulge her, but his parents would never agree to him dating a worthless and down-and-out girl like her. That's right, if she was Snake's mother she would not like her either. Snake was blinded by love and looked at her no matter what, but his parents, on such an occasion and with so many reporters at the entrance, if there was some scandal of Cinderella's dream of becoming a wealthy family being shattered, wouldn't there be a huge uproar? She was just a nobody and people would quickly forget about her, but Snake would definitely be criticized by others. Moreover, with Snake's stubbornness towards her, he would definitely go against his parents for her and things would get out of hand. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and patted her face. She tried her best to smile and tell herself, "It's alright, I've already been very happy during this period of time. One should not be too greedy or they would suffer retribution." With that thought, Gu Mingming gathered her emotions and prepared to push open the door to wash her face. Then she would borrow a set of clothes from the cleaning lady and sneak away before things got out of hand. But she realized that the cubicle door had been blocked from the outside. Gu Mingming tried to push it open but to no avail. Then a voice altered by a voice changer came from outside the door. "My parents divorced when I was 4 and my parents remarried. A burden that no one wants, how dare you get involved with Snake? Trash should stay in trash places, don't have any wishful thinking." With that, a basin of dirty water poured down from above her head. Gu Mingming could not dodge in time and her head was drenched. If she was a girl from a normal family she would have curled up in a corner, trembling and crying for help. But just like what the other party had said, Gu Mingming was a burden that no one wanted. She had long recognized the fact that no matter how miserable she was, no one would come to save her. She could only count on herself. So Gu Mingming lifted her leg and gave the door a hard kick. One side of the door handle was firmly blocked, but the other side of the lotus leaf was not so sturdy. With the first kick, the loud sound scared the people at the door. Before they could react, the second kick followed. Then the door flew out with a bang. The people at the door were so shocked that they forgot to escape. Still holding the voice changer in their hands, they stared at Gu Mingming in a daze. Without a second word, Gu Mingming grabbed the other party's hair and knocked her down. Then, riding on her back, she slapped the voice changer so hard that it flew away. Gu Mingming's eyes were bloodshot from crying. She glared at the woman she was riding on fiercely and said, "Don't use those childish methods of school bullying to deal with me. Splashing dirty water and locking toilets is something that only people play in junior high. I will leave Snake, but not because of your threats. You are not worthy." Aside. Chapter 1501. Just as Gu Mingming raised her arm to give the woman a second slap, her wrist was grabbed. Gu Mingming looked up abruptly. The person holding onto her wrist was none other than Snake. His thin lips were pursed and his gaze was sharp. His entire gaze was locked onto her, not giving a single glance to anyone else. But his gaze was filled with disappointment, sadness and anger. Gu Mingming chuckled. Yes, he should be angry. What kind of occasion was this? He had brought her here, but she had dirted herself all over. Now she was even riding on someone else's body to fight like a shrew. If it was her, she would also be disappointed and angry. Gu Mingming pulled her arm away, but Snake did not let go. Instead, he tugged forcefully and pulled Gu Mingming into his arms. He did not seem to care that the filth on her body would land on him. He just locked her tightly in his arms and went up to the second floor without a word. The socialite who had been slapped finally reacted and started bawling loudly, as if she had suffered a great grievance. But she did not cry for long before she was forcefully taken away by the security guards and locked in the storeroom, as if awaiting trial. Snake brought Gu Mingming to the exclusive resting room on the second floor. Although it was called a resting room, the interior design was actually very similar to a hotel's presidential suite. It was a place for guests to rest after getting drunk, so it was fully equipped with a bathroom and everything else. Snake placed Gu Mingming in the huge bathtub and adjusted the temperature to turn on the water. Then he started taking off her clothes without saying a word. Gu Mingming crossed her arms and looked at Snake warily. "What are you doing? Not washing? Do you want to stay dirty? Don't you feel uncomfortable?" Snake avoided Gu Mingming's eyes and stared fixedly at the dress that was stained by the dirty water. Gu Mingming pushed Snake and said, "I will wash myself, you can go out first." Snake's body froze and did not move. After a while, he suddenly laughed coldly and said, "I will go out? And then? So that you can take the chance to leave me?" Gu Mingming was stunned. She knew that Snake was angry, but she did not expect that the reason for his anger was because he heard her say that she wanted to leave him. Lowering her head, she took a deep breath and said, "Snake, let's break up." Snake acted as if he did not hear anything, but the veins on his temples throbbed and his chest rose and fell violently. He gritted his teeth and said, "Shower first." "Snake." Gu Mingming roared. Snake looked up, his green eyes darkening. He was angry, really angry. "I told you, what are you going to call me?" Snake pinched Gu Mingming's chin with one hand and said with a cold expression, "Don't make me angry, just call me properly. As long as you are obedient. I can pretend that nothing happened just now. I heard everything and you didn't say anything." Gu Mingming's face was cold as ice. Gu Mingming's chin was hurting from being pinched, but how could it be more painful than her heart? She had been telling herself from the start that Snake was not from the same world as her and that she would eventually lose him. But she couldn't control her heart, and she still sank into his love. After drifting for more than 10 years without anyone to rely on, she finally had someone to rely on. It was like a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw. Asking her to leave him now was as painful as gouging out her heart. Chapter 1502. We belong to two different worlds, we don't have a future. Wake up, it's better for everyone if I leave. Gu Mingming's tears fell uncontrollably from the corners of her eyes, her sorrowful gaze making Snake's heart wrench. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms, whispering into her ear, "I know we belong to two different worlds. So I came to your world to find you, I came to your world to wait for you. You clearly like me too, don't you? Why do you have to leave?" Snake's voice was trembling, every word sounding so heavy in Gu Mingming's ears. Gu Mingming sniffled, "Your parents are here. They won't agree to us being together, I don't want to see you get hurt for me, that's why I left." Snake's back stiffened, then he suddenly smiled, holding onto Gu Mingming's shoulders, squinting his eyes at her. "So you want to leave?" Gu Mingming nodded, not daring to look into Snake's eyes. Snake heaved a long sigh, he was really furious, so furious that his eyes were about to crack open, but he could not do anything to her. He really wanted to crack open her head to see what was inside. He knew without a need to crack. You watch too many television dramas. Snake gritted his teeth. From today onwards, you are forbidden from watching those useless romance novels and messy television dramas. Gu Mingming was confused, weren't they talking about breaking up? Wasn't the atmosphere so heavy just now? What did it have to do with romance novels and television dramas? Romance novels and television dramas were innocent. Snake narrowed his eyes. Do you think my parents will throw a check at your face to make you leave me? Gu Mingming was taken aback then nodded. Do you think my mum will splash water at you? Snake asked again. Gu Mingming nodded again. With every nod from Gu Mingming, Snake's cold smile grew wider, then he asked again, do you think if you don't break up with me my parents will put me under house arrest? Then I will go on a hunger strike, my parents will use your safety to threaten me, forcing me to compromise. In the end, I will have no choice but to follow my family's wishes and marry someone I don't like. Then we will be strangers, never to meet again, right? Gu Mingming blushed and nodded again. Snake lifted his hand, really wanting to strangle her. Unfortunately, he could not bear to do so. In the end, he only knocked on her forehead and said, are you comparing me to those useless trash in novels? Gu Mingming was stunned. She could not keep up with Snake's pace. Snake pinched the space between his brows and said, I know your desire for kinship, so I want to introduce you to my parents. After all, when we get married in the future they will be your family. I want to make up for the regrets in your family. I want to be loved and protected by my parents like everyone else. Let's not talk about this first. You'll understand later. Gu Mingming was still in a daze and could only stare blankly at Snake. Snake continued, in your eyes am I a useless piece of trash? Gu Mingming wanted to nod her head out of habit, but after receiving Snake's gaze she immediately snapped back to reality and shook her head. Snake sighed heavily before saying, do you think I will allow someone to throw a check at you? Splash water on you? Then you put me under house arrest and bullied you? Chapter 1503. Snake was really speechless. He could not explain to Gu Mingming what kind of preparations he had made in the 19 years he had been waiting for her. All the obstacles in their way had long been cleared by him. There was no one in the entire family who dared to criticize Snake. He was the pillar of the entire family. Snake's words, it's easy to let a family prosper, but it's even easier to destroy a family, had been a constant reminder to everyone in the family. In the past 19 years, Snake had become the absolute truth in the family. Everything he did was correct. So the woman he liked was the goddess of the entire family. The melodramatic plot that Gu Mingming was worried about would never happen. But he could not reveal his identity to Gu Mingming for the time being. Take a bath. I'll bring you to watch a show after you're clean. Snake tore Gu Mingming's clothes and threw them to the side without any hesitation. Seeing how Gu Mingming was trying to cover up an embarrassment, he said coldly, you will be mine sooner or later, why are you blocking me? Gu Mingming's face was so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. But she could not struggle against Snake. In the end, she could only helplessly allow Snake to wash her inside and out. Then he wrapped her up in a large bath towel and placed her beside the dressing table. He used a small hair dryer to blow her hair. This was not the first time Snake had bathed Gu Mingming. He had bathed her once in the beast world. But that time she was poisoned by his snake venom. Not to mention struggling, it was questionable if she could even breathe. So the bath was very smooth that time. But today, the more she struggled, the more obvious his reaction was. Using Gu Mingming's words, he was a 1,000-year snake demon who had lived 2 lifetimes. Yet he was tormented by her in a bathtub like a young boy. Gu Mingming's face was as red as a ripe apple. She curled up there and let him blow dry her hair. She looked so pitiful that she was about to cry. It was really lovable. Snake squatted down and peeked her little face out of the bath towel. If you feel that you're at a disadvantage, let's go back to the bathroom. I'll strip myself naked for you to wash back, alright? Gu Mingming's face turned even redder. She stiffened her neck and turned her face to the other side. She did not want to look at Snake. Snake smiled and said, you hurt my heart by casually saying that you want to break up, and you have no intention of coaxing me. So I took my own benefits to make up for it. You have no right to be angry, understand? Snake pinched Gu Mingming's little chin and turned her face towards him. It's not that you can't escape when you meet with a tricky situation, but you can only escape into my arms. If you dare to have any thoughts of leaving me again, no matter what the reason is, I will take care of you on the spot, and then tie you up to get your marriage certificate. Do you hear me? Gu Mingming hesitated, not daring to nod. Snake took a deep breath and said patiently, Gu Mingming, listen carefully. You are mine and can only be mine. Don't even mention the fact that you can't escape from me. Even if you do, I'll turn the world upside down to find you. Besides, you have my mark on you. No one in this world would dare to hide you. The whole world will send you back for me. Do you understand? Gu Mingming felt aggrieved. Why did it sound like he was threatening her? Chapter 1504. Seeing how Gu Mingming refused to express her stance, Snake felt helpless. He could resolve a financial crisis worth tens of billions within 3 days, make his competitors fall from the clouds into the mud within 3 hours, and make Monster Company stocks rise to the upper limit within 3 minutes, creating billions of profits for the company. But he could not make this little person in front of him say that she would not leave him. In this world, the only opponent he could not defeat was probably her. Helplessly holding onto Gu Mingming's shoulders, he turned her towards him and said as if surrendering, "You were the one who wanted to abandon me, shouldn't I be the one who should be angry?" Gu Mingming's heart ached as she muttered softly, "I did not want to abandon you. I only wanted to let you go." "Mm." She finally opened her mouth and Snake felt a little relieved. Gu Mingming looked at Snake and felt her nose sting. Feeling wronged, she said, "Who would be willing to give up such a perfect boyfriend like you? I have never been cherished and treasured like this before. Do you know how hard it is to let go? I can't wait to stick to you for the rest of my life, but one cannot be too selfish. You are like the moonlight, only to be looked up to. How can I drag you down from the sky into the mud to suffer in this dirty world with me? I like you so much, so I can't bear to become your flaw. I had to grit my teeth to let you go. I did not abandon you." Snake was stunned as the corners of his lips curled up uncontrollably. He narrowed his eyes and said, "What did you say just now?" Gu Mingming said in a daze, "I said, I did not abandon you." The previous sentence. "I had to grit my teeth to let you go." The previous sentence. "I can't bear to become your flaw." Snake shook his head and said, "Not this sentence, the previous sentence." Gu Mingming thought for a while and said softly with uncertainty, "I like you so much." Snake pulled Gu Mingming into his arms and hugged her tightly. He heaved a long sigh of relief as if the rock pressing on his chest had finally been lifted. He said, "I have waited so long, waiting for you to say that you like me. I've been waiting so long that my heart is anxious. So you are not forced to stay by my side because of the contract, but because you like me, right?" "Mm." Gu Mingming nodded. "Are you an idiot? If she didn't like you, would she let you hug and kiss her whenever you wanted? If I don't like you, I'll let you sleep in my bed? I didn't like it when you were in the bathroom just now. I'd rather kill myself than let you bathe me." The more Snake heard, the more delighted he became. He was overjoyed but did not know how to express it. He could only kiss Gu Mingming's lips fiercely, with ecstasy and a tinge of punishment. "Ouch, it hurts." Gu Mingming's lips were bleeding from Snake's bite. She frowned at Snake and pouted coquettishly. Snake raised his eyebrows and smiled evilly. "Serves you right, who asked you to kidnap my woman? Don't you know that I won't be able to eat, sleep or live without my Taming? How could you be so heartless? You clearly know that my woman likes me too, but you still want to kidnap her. Won't Taming be sad if she leaves me?" Gu Mingming lowered her head, feeling a tinge of sweetness in her heart. She nodded and said, "You will be sad, definitely." Chapter 1505. Gu Mingming nodded her head obediently. Snake then hugged her in his arms in satisfaction and kissed her little hand gently. He then continued, "You have to remember, I am not like the moonlight that you can see but not touch. I am your boyfriend and I am willing to do anything for you. I also have the ability to protect you. I went through so much trouble to come to your side, not just for you to let me off. Don't belittle yourself in the future. You are not a flaw, you are my life. So, don't ever talk about leaving me again, understand? Things like breaking up. I don't want to hear it a second time. Don't even think about it in the future." "But, no buts." Snake gritted his teeth and stared into Gu Mingming's eyes. "I can't leave you. Unless you want me to die, you are not allowed to leave me." Gu Mingming was stunned for 2 seconds before she suddenly smiled. Seeing her smile, Snake's mood became better. Everything was clear after the storm. Yeah, that was it. If anyone else dared to betray, no, not to mention betray, as long as they dared to go against Snake, they would definitely not have a good ending. But Gu Mingming was an exception. She only needed to smile, whisper some gentle words or even cast a glance at him. Snake would surrender in a matter of minutes and the storm would turn into a sunny day. "What are you smiling at?" Tapping Gu Mingming's little nose, Snake asked without any temper. Gu Mingming cleared her throat. "According to your character as a CEO, shouldn't you say, 'If you dare to leave me, I will kill you'? Why would it be, 'I can't leave you unless you want me to die'? Isn't this 'If you dare to leave me, I will kill myself in front of you' only used by women?" Snake was not annoyed. He just hugged Gu Mingming and kissed her. Because I know my own limits. I can't bear to hurt you. Moreover, I have seen you with cuts all over your body. So I know how afraid I am of you getting hurt. But Snake did not say the second sentence out loud. Then won't you be in my clutches in the future? Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and asked. Snake nodded his head honestly and said without any hesitation, the only thing I will not give in to you is breaking up. Other than that, I'll do whatever you say. I'll listen to you. You can do whatever you want. Gu Mingming lowered her head and said softly, you will spoil me like this. It's better to spoil her. Snake kissed her and said, my woman should be domineering. Gu Mingming smiled without saying a word, expressing her helplessness towards Snake's worldview. Snake pulled Gu Mingming's chin and said, so, I want you to give me a definite answer. You will not leave me again, right? It depends on your performance. Gu Mingming blushed and turned her head away, feeling a little shy. She did not answer yes. Because when she said that, it felt as if she had agreed to marry him, but he clearly hadn't proposed yet. But Gu Mingming did not know that her ambiguous answer had dug a big hole for herself. Because from then on, Snake had to follow her even when she went to the toilet. He was afraid that she would climb out of the toilet's ventilation window and escape on a UFO. Chapter 1506. When Snake was bathing Gu Mingming, he had already instructed his assistant to fetch another set of gown from the villa. Although there was no makeup team to redo Gu Mingming's makeup, Gu Mingming was young and had good skin. She looked beautiful even without any makeup. After changing into the new gown, her hair was blown straight by Snake, draping lightly behind her back. When Gu Mingming held Snake's hand and walked down from the second floor, the scene downstairs was a little strange. How should she put it? The originally harmonious banquet now looked like a court. An old couple sat on a European-style sofa in the middle of the hall. It was obvious that they were of a certain age, but they weren't old. Their every movement exuded a sense of nobility. The man took out an old pocket watch from his jacket pocket, glanced at it, and then said in Chinese that wasn't too standard, now an hour has passed. If you cannot give me a satisfactory answer, then, today's matter will be escalated to the national level. I don't know if you can bear the responsibility of insulting the F country's royalty. Gu Mingming looked at Snake in a daze. Snake only patted her little hand that was in the crook of his arm, indicating for her to wait and see. Gu Mingming nodded obediently and followed Snake to the middle of the hall. Father, mother. Snake was very polite and gentlemanly. To be honest, Snake had never been so polite to these two since he was born. So, when he greeted them so formally, they felt a little flattered. Uncle, auntie. Gu Mingming said awkwardly. She looked at the two nobles carefully and wondered if she should run away or just use Snake as a meat shield if they threw something at her. Snake's mother saw Snake's arm and the hand that was gently placed on Gu Mingming's hand and instantly understood where her son's respect for them came from. It seemed like Snake really liked this girl. So, a smile bloomed on Snake's mother's face. Just based on this point, this daughter-in-law was a good one to be able to make this iceberg-like son treat them with such respect. If Snake could get along better with his family after marrying her, then this daughter-in-law would be a gift from the heavens. It was no exaggeration to say that Snake's mother was already thinking about which noble her future grandson should hire as a private tutor as she looked at Gu Mingming. Come, my precious daughter-in-law. Snake's mother waved at Gu Mingming warmly. Gu Mingming felt that this development was different from the television series and was a little confused. Snake smiled and nodded. He let go of Gu Mingming's hand and let her sit beside his mother obediently. Snake's mother held onto Gu Mingming's little hand lovingly and said with a face full of love, "Don't be afraid, mother will stand up for you. Although this isn't F country, we won't let anyone bully our daughter-in-law." That's right. The old gentleman at the side slammed his walking stick on the ground and said, "Our precious daughter-in-law has been humiliated here. You must give us an explanation." Gu Mingming was at a loss. So this court-like scene was to help her vent her anger? Who are you interrogating? What kind of humiliation had she suffered? Snakel's lips curled into a smile, not because of anything else, but because Gu Mingming did not reject the term daughter-in-law. Chapter 1507. The screen flashed and disappeared in front of her. Gu Mingming turned back to look at the beast deity and smiled helplessly. So he met his parents? Don't tell me the next episode will be about him getting married? The beast deity shrugged. I don't know. The children will have their own blessings. Gu Mingming was speechless. She shook her head. I'm done watching the show. Father, answer my question. The beast deity nodded. Go ahead. Gu Mingming asked, if that legend is true, then Mota Mountains is Whale's original form? The beast deity nodded. Gu Mingming asked again, what's the relationship between whales and little shit? Little shit clearly said that he had never been to Mota Mountains. But how did he know that there was a snake path there? Elvis said that little shit would go crazy the moment he got close to that mountain. He couldn't control himself no matter what. He even said that something was summoning him. The beast deity hesitated for a moment. Then he smiled and stroked Gu Mingming's hair. Let him tell you these questions himself when he comes back, alright? Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment. Then she smiled and nodded. As long as he's fine, I'm at ease. The beast deity said that little shit could come back and tell her personally. This meant that at least little shit was safe and he could still come back. That was enough. Everyone had their own feelings that they could not control. Gu Mingming did not force little shit to tell her everything, and even more so, she could not ask him to place all his burdens on her again. Her relationship with little shit was the type where they would drink and chat merrily when they were free. When they were busy, they would cultivate separately. When they were in trouble, they would risk their lives to accompany each other. She knew that as long as something happened to her, little shit would rush back to help her no matter where he was. And vice versa. Little shit would definitely know that she would do anything for him. He must have his own reasons for leaving without saying goodbye. Since the beast deity said that little shit would come back, she could rest assured. Gu Mingming's heart was finally relieved and she felt much better. Tilting her head to look at the beast deity, she leaned against Elvis's chest tiredly and said, Father, you said that the black fog I inhaled when I took the kiss of the ocean was whale's poison, the soul of the forest fused into my body was his blood, the love of the sky was his incarnation, the tear of the beast deity was given to me by Snake and Snake is his son. Why do I feel that all the 7 treasures are related to him? The beast deity smiled without saying a word, only nodding his head. An idea flashed across Gu Mingming's mind. She sat up straight and asked, will whales be revived after I gather all 7 treasures? The beast deity's expression froze for a moment. Then he smiled with some disappointment. His gaze drifted into the distance as if he was thinking about something. After a long time he finally replied, perhaps. Gu Mingming was triggered. She clenched her fists tightly and said, if that's the case, wouldn't Gregory be back soon? The beast deity smiled at Gu Mingming. You were so unhappy when I asked you to take him in the previous time. How long has it been? Is he that important now? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, Father, you don't understand. My feelings for Gregory is not love. I just don't have the strength to bear the burden of losing human lives one after another. The feeling of sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor, and it's a heavy price at that, is too torturous. One snake has already pushed me to the brink of collapse. If there's another Gregory, I will go crazy. Aside from the topic. Chapter 1508. Gu Mingming looked up at Elvis and said with a pleading tone, Hubby, let's go look for the spirit of the rocky cliffs after we return? Alright? Gregory really wanted to say that they did not have any information on the spirit of the rocky cliffs and did not know how to find him. But looking at Gu Mingming's swollen eyes and hoarse throat, Elvis could not say a word of no. He could only nod his head and say with a doting and heartache smile, yes. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief and finally relaxed. If she could save Gregory and revive him, then there would always be a chance to make up for what she owed him. That would be good, that would be good. With her heart relaxed, Gu Mingming's brain started to become more active. She looked at the beast deity and asked, but Wang Xiaoxin has been dead for over 1,000 years. Now that Whales has been revived, it would just be adding another pitiful person to this world. The beast deity smiled with an inscrutable air of a deity. He just said something that seemed right but was not right. Everything is fated. No matter if it's sorrow or happiness, misfortune or fortune, there will always be a predetermined outcome. Her father rarely kept Gu Mingming in suspense. Gu Mingming understood that he did not want to say, so she did not force him. She just smiled and said, Father, if you don't want to say, I won't ask. Don't play official with me, I'm not used to it. All right. The beast deity looked at Gu Mingming lovingly. Seeing that her complexion was much better, he then said, all right, don't you have all the answers you want? Hurry back, that little fox of yours is quite pitiful to be alone. Gu Mingming nodded and hugged the beast deity before saying, I'll leave first. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and descended in a weightless state. He suddenly opened his eyes and met Li's worried gaze. Gu Mingming returned a smile and Li's brows slowly relaxed. His gaze also softened. Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Li's neck and said in a hoarse voice, I've made you worry. It's good that you're fine. Leah conveniently carried Gu Mingming to the side to feed her water. Elvis had also been lying down for a few days and needed to exercise his stiff body. Gu Mingming turned around and saw that there were indeed many fresh beast skins on the bed. They were of high quality, and just like what she had guessed before she slept, Leah would definitely not let her down on these details. However, this cave was just a temporary shelter. They would leave once they woke up, so there was really no need to prepare so many things. But on second thought, she and Elvis went to the beast deity's place and slept for 4 to 5 days. If she did not let Leah prepare these, he would have to wait. Wouldn't he go crazy waiting? From the third day after Gu Mingming fell asleep, the food on the pot never stopped. Leah had been preparing fresh food, and if Gu Mingming did not wake up by the time he was done, he would give the food to Oriton and cook again. So when Gu Mingming woke up, there would always be something to eat. Leah asked as he fed Gu Mingming, "Where are we going now?" Gu Mingming thought for a while and said, "Let's go back to Sauter. With that pervert Cole there, I'm afraid that Hudda and his brothers will be at a disadvantage." Elvis and Leah had no objections. They would go wherever she wanted to go. This was the family's standard. Chapter 1509. When they came, it was filled with laughter. But when they returned, the atmosphere was a little heavy because Gregory and Wabi were not around. Because of the lack of interest in sightseeing, the 1-month journey only took 20 days to return to Sauter. The atmosphere in Sauter was a little strange. How should she put it? It was too peaceful, so peaceful that it was strange. Based on Cole's temper, he would definitely do something when Gu Mingming and Elvis were not around. But when Gu Mingming returned, she realized that the tribe was as peaceful as a paradise. Even in the past, the Fox clan and the Wolf clan were always in conflict with each other. Why was it that after her trip to Moda Mountains, it was as if everything had changed? Gu Mingming did not return to the stone castle. Instead, she went straight to the meeting room. Hudda, Qixin and Jiaoyu knew that Gu Mingming had returned and were all waiting for her in the meeting room. Elvis instructed the wild wolves to call the 7 wolves from Sandy's family over, while Leah volunteered to meet Cole. Although Gu Mingming was worried that Cole would use his status as the Fox King to pressure Leah, but other than Leah, there was no one else who would not fall into Cole's trap. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead, assuring her that he could retreat unscathed and not let her worry. Only then did Gu Mingming nod and allow him to meet Cole. In the meeting room, Qixin honestly explained how he had used himself as a bargaining chip to threaten Cole not to act rashly. Gu Mingming slammed the table in anger. Before she could say anything, Qixin pounced into Gu Mingming's arms and sobbed. "Mum, you don't know how scared I was these few days. Without you around, there's no one to protect me." Sobs, sobs, sobs. A motherless child is so pitiful. I can only hang around with Cole. I was so afraid of that pervert. He's not afraid of death. I almost couldn't see you anymore. Gu Mingming was dumbfounded by Qixuan's crying. The scolding she was about to say got stuck in her throat and became, "All right, good boy. Mum is back. With me around, he won't dare to bully you again." Qixin wiped his non-existent tears and nodded pitifully. He looked as if he had been greatly frightened. Gu Mingming could not bear to scold him anymore. After all, he was just a 3-year-old child. Sigh. Qixin and Jiaoyu exchanged a look. The first move to deal with their mother, acting pitiful, had succeeded. As for why the Fox clan and Wolf clan suddenly got along with each other, it was an accident. Sandy's family now had a new pet. It was none other than the gentle and flirtatious Arnold. Normally, it wasn't a big deal for a female to have a pet at home, but this female just had to be Sandy and the pet was Arnold. This made things a little tricky. Gu Mingming, the messenger of the beast deity, already had many complaints about the Fox clan. Ever since Cole, the Fox King, was born, they had become even more distant. If Arnold could successfully win over Sandy, he could repair the relationship between the Fox clan and the messenger of the beast deity. If Arnold also impregnated Sandy and successfully became in-laws with Gu Mingming, then the relationship between the Fox clan and the messenger of the beast deity would be even more stable. So the Fox clan was afraid of causing trouble and dragging Arnold down, causing Sandy and Arnold to be estranged. Then all of Arnold's previous efforts would be wasted. After all, Arnold was just a pet now and had yet to enter the next level. So the Fox clan naturally had to restrain themselves and not give the Wolf clan a chance to make a fuss. Aside from the topic, author, Qixin, your image as a black-bellied young master has collapsed. Qixin, what do you know? As long as my mother doesn't cry, not to mention turning into a whining monster, I can do anything. Chapter 1510. And the situation at the Wolf clan side was not much better. Arnold might not be Hodgson's match in terms of combat abilities, and he might not even be able to defeat Jerry or any of the 7 wolves. However, when it came to scheming and making a favorable impression, the 7 wolves together were not Arnold's match. Just from the fact that even their 7 legitimate partners couldn't stop Arnold, a pursuer, from obtaining Sandy's heart, it was clear that this was the case. Now that Arnold was a battle pet, he had more opportunities to show his presence in front of Sandy. The sense of crisis that the wolves were feeling was growing. After all, Sandy had yet to give birth to a child for the wolf clan. If Arnold became the leader and his child mated with Gu Mingming, then the wolf clan, not to mention anything else, they would not be able to raise their heads in front of the Wolf King. Even if the Wolf King didn't blame them, they wouldn't have the face to continue living if they let the opponent win. Moreover, although Gu Mingming was the messenger of the beast deity, she was also the queen of the wolf clan. She only had 4 children and they were all the young masters of the wolf clan. If Arnold mated with Sandy, then wouldn't the young masters of the wolf clan be in the hands of the fox clan? Thinking about how much Gu Mingming valued her children, the queen would definitely side with the fox clan for the sake of her sons. Then the Wolf King's position in the family, intolerable. This was definitely intolerable. So, the most important thing now was to let Sandy give birth to a litter of cubs for the wolf clan before she mated with Arnold. It would be best if it was a female, but it did not matter if it was not. After all, Sandy was a half-orc and the chances of getting pregnant were there. After giving birth to this litter, who knew how many years it would take for her to get pregnant again? Who knew what would happen in between? Maybe Sandy had seen through Arnold's true colors and did not like him anymore? Or maybe because of the children she valued the 7 wolves more? Anyway, no matter what, they had to let Sandy give birth to the wolf clan's children first. To achieve this goal, the entire wolf clan unanimously decided not to fall out with Arnold before Sandy got pregnant. They would not let him have the chance to sow discord in front of Sandy. As a result, the struggle between the 2 tribes was concentrated in Sandy's small world. Only at home was the uncivilized version of Empresses in the Palace being played out every day, but the 2 tribes in the tribe were so harmonious. It was embarrassing. Gu Mingming facepalmed and looked at Hutta, then at Jiaoyu. Finally, her gaze landed on Qixuan. Sandy said before I left that she would not accept Arnold. I believe she will not go back on her words. Tell me, whose idea was it? The 3 sons were silent for 2 seconds, then shook their heads in unison and said in unison, "It wasn't me." Gu Mingming raised her eyebrows and smiled. Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. The 3 sons shrugged in unison, obviously knowing that Gu Mingming could not do anything to them. With an innocent look, they said in unison, "It's really not our principle." Chapter 15:11. Jiaoyu smiled cautiously and took a small step forward. He squatted down to massage Gu Mingming's legs and said with a fawning expression, "Hee hee mum, you are really a prophet. You are the female Zhuge of today. Nothing can be hidden from your pair of beautiful eyes. Mum, how can there be such a perfect female like you in this world? Not only are you devastatingly beautiful, your intellect is also unparalleled." "Stop." Gu Mingming poked Jiaoyu's head and said, "Stop trying to seduce me. Confess honestly and you will not suffer any physical pain." Jiaoyu naturally knew that Gu Mingming would not really beat him up because of this matter. He just smiled mischievously and said, "How am I trying to seduce you? I am speaking from the bottom of my heart." Seeing Gu Mingming glaring at him, Jiaoyu stopped being mischievous and obediently smiled and said, Speak all right? Mum, how would I dare to hide what you want to know? Am I not afraid that you will cry?" Gu Mingming suddenly felt a sense of heroism. She had only cried once because of Qixuan. Just once. Indeed, the effect was very good. Not only did she make Qixuan cry back, none of the males in the family, from her partners to her sons, dared to disobey her. But to bring up the matter of her crying every now and then, did she not want her reputation? "I am your mum." Gu Mingming chided. "I know." Jiaoyu nodded seriously and said, "Apart from my mum, who else can receive such treatment? Letting me, the dignified wolf clan's young master, massage your shoulders and legs, right?" "TSK still mischievous?" Gu Mingming poked Jiaoyu's head again. Jiaoyu chuckled and said, "Don't be mischievous anymore. Didn't you want to ask me how I persuaded the wolf clan to behave? It's actually very simple. I just told them, look, there is already a Dodgy from the Snow Fox clan who is engaged to our wolf clan's young master. If Arnold and Sandy give birth to another female, based on my mum's relationship with mother-in-law, they would definitely keep the goodies within the family. By then at least 2 out of my mum's 4 sons would be in the hands of the Fox clan. Would our wolf clan still have a place to stand? Gu Mingming rubbed her brows. If you say that, they should be dying to kill Arnold immediately. Why would they choose to keep the peace? Jiaoyu slammed the table and said, "She is indeed my mother, she is too smart." You guessed it right. At that time the wolf clan's elder was unwilling and took the lead to directly bite Arnold to death. In the end, as Jiaoyu spoke, he suddenly stood up and patted his chest. Like a hero, he said, "Your son." I immediately used the prestige of the wolf clan's young master to say, "Wait." Gu Mingming was amused by Jiaoyu's storytelling manner. She pinched him and said, "Speak properly." Chapter 15:12. Then what else can we do? Jiaoyu answered his own question before continuing, "We have to think of a better idea." Then what is this better idea? Gu Mingming asked cooperatively, "What is it?" Jiaoyu glanced at Gu Mingming and laughed. "Don't the Fox clan want Arnold to mate with mother-in-law, and then incite her to rope you in? If we kill Arnold, there will be Arnold Chi, Arnold T, Arnold Mei, Arnold Lao and so on, right? Unless I kill all the foxes in the world, there will be no end to this matter. Moreover, my mother-in-law is currently bewitched by Arnold. If you kill Arnold now, isn't it obvious that you will let mother-in-law vent her anger on the 7 wolves? When the time comes, the 7 wolves will fall out of favor, and the Fox clan will find a new fox to send to mother-in-law, then everything will fall into place." Gu Mingming had to admit Jiaoyu's hypothesis was really logical, not to mention fooling the wolf clan, even if it was used to fool her. If not for Wang Xiaoxin's psychological knowledge, it would probably also be an accurate bluff. And then? Gu Mingming did not intend to expose her son's argument, since it was already done. She just needed to know the process, and not expose herself in front of the wolf clan in the future. Jiaoyu squinted his eyes and smiled in an especially harmless manner, pinching Gu Mingming's shoulders. "Then I gave them an idea. I told them that the simplest method is to take drastic measures. Didn't the Fox clan want Arnold to mate with mother-in-law to rope you in? We will not let them succeed. Not only must we not let them succeed, we have to beat them at their own game and deal with them instead. First of all, the wolf clan must be stable. We must not give Arnold the chance to stir up trouble and act pitiful in front of mother-in-law to gain sympathy. He must act like Romeo and Juliet, saying that they must be together despite the hatred of their country and family, crossing the flames of war to love you. We must not let Arnold act like this. Otherwise, once mother-in-law sympathizes with him, the 7 wolves will not be able to do anything in the future." Gu Mingming facepalmed again. She remembered that she had told Huda and his brothers many positive fairy tales when they were young, but why did they only remember those love stories she told to females? Romeo and Juliet. The 4 of them were still wolf cubs who didn't know how to speak human language when they were saying this. She even said, "I crossed the flames of war to love you." Wasn't this what she said when she told the 16 valued females, "I don't have time to say I love you"? Gu Mingming regretted. She should not have told the females any modern love stories. How many times had he been buried by Yu Jin? Why didn't she learn her lesson? Look at her now, what could her son even remember? Chapter 15:13. Gu Mingming's head really hurt. She looked at her sons with a strange gaze. She now understood why Elvis did not allow her to teach her sons. If she continued teaching them, they would all be able to go back to ancient times and act in empresses in the palace. She did not need to memorize the script and could just improvise like palace scheming. Son. Jiaoyu was smart, but he was not as good as Qixin at reading people's thoughts and body language. Qixin kicked Jiaoyu from behind. Only then did Jiaoyu notice that Gu Mingming's expression was not right. He retracted his arrogant ramblings and cleared his throat, saying carefully, "Mum, don't be angry. I'm not scheming against mother-in-law. It's just that I'm afraid something will happen to the tribe when you're not around, so I'm using this method to stabilize the various powers." Second brother used his life to threaten Cole. But if the Wolf clan and the Fox clan really fought, even if Cole did not do anything, it would definitely be a situation where both sides would suffer. After all, this was not a battle between 2 tribes. It was a battle between 2 tribes. 2 complete tribes with a beast king. You handed Solder over to Big Brother and me to guard. I can't possibly watch you go out for a trip only to come back with broken walls and a scene of desolation, right? Moreover, I only taught the 7 wolves to treat mother-in-law better and let them please her. I did not do anything else, I swear. Gu Mingming was still traumatized by swearing. Back then, snakes cut open my chest and take out my gallbladder became a maxim. Later on, Gregory's break my wings and make me blind also became an ironclad truth. Now, her heart would thump whenever she heard the word swear. Slapping Jiaoyu's head, Gu Mingming glared at him. The first rule is that the males in our family are not allowed to swear. Not allowed. I won't swear. Don't be angry. Jiaoyu was really afraid of Gu Mingming. After all, he only had one mother. What if she got angry? Seeing her glare, he hurriedly smiled and coaxed her. Mom, I have already confessed. Can I be lenient? Gu Mingming also knew that she had overreacted. After all, the children did not know about the trauma she had from swearing. So she did not harp on it. She just sighed and poked Jiaoyu's head to the side. Then she asked, "What about the Fox clan? Who showed up?" Yes, the Fox clan was good at winning people's hearts and pretending to be peaceful, but if there was no one adding fuel to the fire, the entire clan would not be so obedient. It was not strange that the Fox clan would place their attention on Sandy, but it was strange that both the Fox and Wolf clans would place their attention on Sandy. Moreover, the strategy they adopted was the same, which was very strange. The three little ones looked at each other, giggling as they retreated step by step, keeping their mouths shut and not saying anything. Gu Mingming narrowed her eyes and was about to interrogate him when Leah walked in with his tail wagging. He smiled and said, "All right, stop it. I was the one who came up with the idea, and I was also the one who came up with the Fox clan. Before I left, I told these three guys not to tell anyone that I was the one who set this up. Otherwise, if someone found out, it would definitely be exposed. So no matter how you ask them, they won't say anything. The pride of the Wolf clan does not allow them to go back on their word." "Daddy Leah, you're finally back. We couldn't hold on much longer." Jiaoyu heaved a long sigh of relief as if he had seen his savior. Chapter 15-14. Qixin remained silent for a moment before saying, "I have already stayed here for too long in order to restrain Cole. I am worried about leaving Kanwu alone in Zacharias. Since all of you are back, I will return to Zacharias to accompany Kanwu." Gu Mingming's heart ached the most for Qixin. Qixin had suffered the most when he was young, and after he grew up, he was the busiest of the four sons. Hugging Qixin, Gu Mingming said with a pained expression, "There is a night campfire party to celebrate my return. Stay behind and let Daddy Leah make you some good food to nourish you. Let's leave tomorrow morning, all right?" Ever since Gu Mingming burst into tears that time, Qixin could no longer reject her. He just nodded his head and smiled in agreement. Elvis had been away for a long time. Although the Wolf clan did not do anything on the surface, they were still extremely sullen. Elvis naturally had many matters to settle after returning. Gu Mingming tidied Elvis's beast-skin dress as she said, "Go on, you are the Wolf King and the whole pack of wolves is waiting to see you. I will go to Sandy's place to take a look. With Leah accompanying me it will be fine." Elvis also knew that ever since Gregory's incident, he and Leah had been overly anxious, causing Gu Mingming to be under a lot of pressure. And Gu Mingming hoped that he would divert his attention elsewhere and not be too anxious because of her emotions. Actually, how could he not be anxious about her? However, he was willing to cooperate with her arrangements and let her believe that his attention had already shifted. Nodding, he planted a kiss on Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "I will go and fetch you before the night campfire party." Gu Mingming nodded in agreement, then shot a look at her three sons, telling them to follow Elvis over. Stepping on his shoulders, it would be easier to establish the prestige of the Wolf clan's young master. After Elvis left with his three sons, Leah handed over the task of organizing the night campfire party to Oriton. Oriton was both the guardian of the messenger of the beast deity and Gu Mingming's guardian beast. Although he was not a witch doctor, no one dared to doubt him. After Gu Mingming came to the beast world, the night campfire party was held much more frequently than before. Although Oriton had never personally organized one, he had assisted Leah many times and was rather familiar with it. With nothing to do, Leah carried Gu Mingming and wagged his tail as he walked out of the meeting room towards Sandy's place. Gu Mingming looped her arms around his neck and asked, "Cole, what?" Leah sneered and said, "You will know when you go to the night campfire party tonight. That scene is really exciting." Looking at Lee's relaxed and cheerful expression, she knew that Cole must have been having a hard time recently. As long as he wasn't, Gu Mingming would feel good. As for what was wrong with him, Gu Mingming did not really want to know. Gu Gu while Ling Tian of Tamu to long to say, Wolf to say to of mu. Sandy was sitting on the other side of the cave entrance with the 7 wolves surrounding her attentively. If not for the difference in height, Gu Mingming would have thought that she was looking at Snow White. Sandy wore an awkward expression, unable to decide whether to laugh or cry. From time to time he would sneak a peek at Arnold, but he did not dare to turn around to look at him. One moment, Hodgson would stuff a piece of fruit into his mouth, the next moment, Jerry would hand him a cup of honey water. Chapter 15:15. Girl? Sandy was the first to react. She jumped up and pushed Hodgson, who was blocking her way, before pouncing towards Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming also jumped down from Li's arms. The two of them hugged each other tightly. Little Bear Bun and Girl were the new nicknames that Gu Mingming and Sandy had agreed on when they last met. Other than partners, only the two of them had nicknames that belonged to each other. Although it was just a nickname, it was the highest honor in the beast world because of Gu Mingming's identity. Sandy did not care about honor, but she was very happy that she was the most special in her most important friend's heart. How is it? Is it hard to endure a beauty's grace? Gu Mingming teased. Sandy blushed at the mention of this. She lowered her head and said, "Girl, I'm sorry." What? Gu Mingming was confused. Sandy sneaked a glance at Arnold and said, "Before you left, I said that I would only accept him after Leah becomes the Fox King, but, that day was really—" Gu Mingming understood that Sandy was referring to Arnold. She smiled knowingly and used her elbow to poke Sandy. "I said that because I was afraid that you would have a psychological burden. It was to comfort you. You really took it seriously? Let me see." Gu Mingming cupped the round, soft and adorable Sandy with both hands and smiled. "Is this coward really my little bear bun? Stop fooling around. I'm serious." Sandy pouted and protested. "If I knew that you were coming back today, I would have asked him to hide." "Hide? Where?" Gu Mingming teased. "Like how the first wife inspects the room, stuffing her lover under the bed?" Sandy knew that Gu Mingming was purposely teasing her. She did not get angry when Gu Mingming teased her. She just said with a red face, "Who cares where he hides? Anyway, I can't let you see him." Gu Mingming hooked her arms around Sandy's neck. "What? You didn't get my permission to accept a beast pet, so you don't have the face to see me?" Sandy nodded with a serious expression. Gu Mingming smacked her lips and smiled. "Just nice, I also accepted a guardian beast. I didn't discuss it with you beforehand. How about we call it even?" Sandy knew about Grace's situation. After all, she had introduced her in such a big way at the bonfire party before she left. Hearing that, Sandy finally reacted and looked behind Gu Mingming. That bird man didn't come with you? I wanted to give him a show of strength and ask him if his face hurts now that he said he didn't like you back then." Gu Mingming's smile froze for a moment before she quickly composed herself and smiled. "Yeah, I guess my face must be hurting. Next time there will always be a chance." Sandy thought that Gregory had gone to help Gu Mingming with other matters, so she did not take it to heart. After all, Oriton was also the guardian beast of Gu Mingming's family, but he would not follow her every time, so she did not take it to heart. The males in Sandy's family had a deep understanding of Gu Mingming's shock education, so the moment they saw Gu Mingming, they automatically went into eunuch mode. 3 layers of beast skin were laid out at the cave entrance, fruits, honey and water were all prepared. They lined up neatly in a row, waiting respectfully, not even bothering to push Arnold aside. Chapter 15:16. All right. Sandy was already filled with anticipation without even asking what it was. Gu Mingming moved her shoulders, then suddenly exerted strength. A pair of transparent wings that resembled ice spread out from her back. Then, under Sandy's shocked expression, Gu Mingming flew up into the sky and hovered in midair under the setting sun. The wind blew against her face, causing Gu Mingming's hair and the feather on her right ear to sway along with the wind. Gu Mingming tried her best to smile so that no one could hear her asking in her heart, "I am using you to exchange my wings for flight, do you see that?" "I'm smiling so. Gregory, are you happy?" After flying 2 rounds, Gu Mingming finally calmed herself down and landed steadily on the ground. "Girl, you are too amazing, you really flew up into the sky." "That's right, this time I can really stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun." Just as Gu Mingming was speaking, Arnold suddenly entered the conversation. "Congratulations, Great Messenger, and congratulations to Ninth Highness." Gu Mingming glanced sideways at Arnold. Arnold continued, "Everyone knows that the Great Messenger wants the love of the sky so that Ninth Highness can have children. Now that the love of the sky is in our hands, the Snow Fox clan will have a new noble." Gu Mingming was about to speak but Leah beat her to it. "Looks like you are really pampered so much that you have nothing to fear." Arnold did not seem to understand and just stared blankly at Leah. Leah waved his tail and stood up to walk in front of Arnold. "As a senior beast pet, let me give you a piece of advice as someone who has been through it. Don't think that everything will be fine just because you have a status. There is a limit to how much she can dote on you. If you touch on her taboo, females will turn on you more ruthlessly than males. I am willing to hear the details. Arnold still did not understand what Leah meant, but he could see that Sandy's expression did not look too good, but he did not know what he had done wrong, so he could only put on an attitude of listening attentively. Leah tilted his body and swayed his tail, smiling. As a beast pet, the most basic thing is to learn how to read people's expressions, right? When the two of them gather together to talk, don't mention you, a mere beast pet. Did you see that row of people standing there? Which one of them does not have more authority than you? Do you see who dares to interrupt? Even if it's me, I have to think twice before intervening between the two of them, but you dare to say anything? Arnold's heart skipped a beat. It was not that he did not realize that Bode and the rest did not dare to make a sound when Gu Mingming and Sandy were talking to each other. It was the exact opposite. He had discovered it, so he intentionally interrupted. He thought that since Leah was the 9th highness of the Snow Fox tribe, he was accompanying Gu Mingming to meet Sandy today and the Wolf King was not around, so it was a good opportunity to teach the 7 wolves a lesson. As long as he interfered, even if Gu Mingming just said a few perfunctory words to him, his status in the family would rise by quite a lot. Moreover, as long as Gu Mingming interfered, it would prove that Gu Mingming was fated with Leah and was still close to the Snow Fox tribe. In that case, Sandy would not have anything to worry about and the mating would happen naturally. But he did not expect that the one to talk to him was not Gu Mingming but Leah. Looking at Sandy's expression, Arnold knew that he had outsmarted himself. I'm sorry, Arnold was rude. I just wanted to congratulate His Highness. Congratulate? Leah chuckled coldly, shaking his head. You don't know about the relationship between my Gu Mingming and the Fox King? Or do you not know about the feud between me and the Fox King? Do you think you have the right to congratulate me? Digression. Once Gregory left the stage, everyone seemed to be in low spirits. To boost morale, let me spoil a little. I am preparing to kill Cole, so everyone prepare your machetes, we will chop him up together. Chapter 15-17. Lee's meaning was very clear. He was saying that Arnold was Cole's man and he had gotten close to Sandy under Cole's instructions. Arnold had no way of defending himself against this. In the beginning he got close to Sandy on purpose, but later on he really liked Sandy. But the two of them were burdened with so many benefits. It was not that he did not know that Leah had made use of him before he left, but he still chose to add fuel to the fire and use it to get close to Sandy. Even if this way he would be entangled with countless troubles and it would be hard for him to escape. But even if he was doomed to eternal damnation, he still wanted to get close to Sandy. But now, his sincerity could not change the ulterior motives he had when he first approached her. It also could not change the fact that he was carrying the mission of the Snow Fox tribe and the Fox King's orders. He had to mate with Sandy as soon as possible and let her give birth to his child to stabilize the relationship between the messenger of the beast deity and the Snow Fox tribe. But at the same time his love for Sandy was also real. He felt that these two matters did not clash. But now he could not say anything. Sandy cared about Gu Mingming. In the family, other than her first partner Bode and Colin, who was imprinted on her heart, none of her partners had an exclusive nickname. But Gu Mingming had one. Just based on this point, Arnold knew that although he was doted on, he could not compare to Gu Mingming in Sandy's heart. He was from the Snow Fox tribe and Gu Mingming was hostile towards the Snow Fox tribe. This was an insurmountable gap between him and Sandy. Unless, Arnold's gaze landed on Lee's face with a fanatical look. He was very clear about the consequences of going against the Beast King. But even so, he still could not extinguish the wild desire in his heart. Leah returned an unfathomable smile and patted his shoulder. My Mingming said that humans must know how to judge the situation. Even a fine bird has to choose a good tree to nest in. Yes, Sandy added. That girl also said that one would be an idiot not to take advantage of an opportunity. Gu Mingming burst out laughing in a second and pinched Sandy. She then glanced sideways at Arnold and said, Looks like you are really favored, even my little bear bun has to step in to help you out of your predicament. Don't worry, I'll like whatever little bear bun likes. But, if I find out that you've done something to make my little bear bun suffer, I won't let you off. Gu Mingming enunciated the last sentence very clearly. Arnold couldn't help but tremble. He immediately lowered his head and said, I will solemnly obey the Queen's teachings. Gu Mingming chuckled. It was so smooth to call her Queen. Arnold was not a werewolf, so he definitely did not bark because of Elvis. She and Cole were like fire and water, so she would never be Cole's queen. So the only way for this title to be established was for Leah to become the Fox King, and as his tribesman and follower, he naturally had to address Gu Mingming as queen. Gu Mingming nodded and gladly accepted the respectful title. She said, "A wise man submits to circumstances, but he must also know how to conceal his capabilities, and remember, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind." Gu Mingming was reminding him to hide his unfaithfulness towards Cole well and not let Cole see through it. After all, Sandy liked this beast pet very much. It would be good if he could become one of them, but if he died because of this, Gu Mingming would not be able to answer to Sandy. Chapter 15-18. Gu Mingming did not bother about Arnold anymore and chatted with Sandy for a while. At sunset, Elvis came to fetch her. After mating, Gu Mingming fulfilled her promise. In front of Elvis and Leah, she treated herself as a severely handicapped person who could not take care of herself. So even though she had legs and now wings to walk and fly, as long as Elvis and Leah were around, she had to be carried when she moved. The campfire party was unprecedentedly grand. Because when Gu Mingming was not around, people from the wolf tribe came to seek shelter one after another, while the fox tribe also had the hearts of many. Almost all the branches of the two races had gathered in Sodor. Then the state of the campfire party changed slightly. In the past, the main campfire belonged to Gu Mingming, while the others would light their bonfires according to the number of females in their families. Then those who were closer to Gu Mingming would sit closer to the main campfire. But Cole was single and he could not live without a campfire. So the two tribe elders discussed, harmoniously, and finally decided to change the system slightly. The original Gu Mingming would be the main campfire seat, and now there would be two campfires to be the main campfire seat. Gu Mingming would sit at the main campfire of the wolf tribe as the queen, while Cole would start another campfire as the Fox King. As a result, the party was divided into two groups. On the left, Elvis and Gu Mingming were the leaders of the wolf tribe and the 16 tribes who were pro-wolf, while on the right Cole was the leader of the fox tribe. Gu Mingming took a quick glance and saw that there were quite a number of people from the fox tribe, even more than the wolf tribe. Although they were not as powerful as the wolves individually, but based on the current numbers, it was not realistic for the wolf tribe led by Elvis to win. They could win, but they would definitely have to pay a huge price. Rubbing her brows, Gu Mingming felt a headache coming on. "Gu, come here." Cole was already sitting at the right side of the campfire. From afar he saw Gu Mingming being carried over by Elvis and was in a daze. But Gu Mingming did not even look at him, which made him extremely unhappy. Gu Mingming sneered at Cole and ignored him. She sat beside Elvis's bonfire and leaned into Elvis's arms, waiting for Leah to make her something to eat. Seeing that Gu Mingming was ignoring him, Cole stood up and took the initiative to walk in front of Gu Mingming. He stared at Gu Mingming openly and said, Gu, you have already followed them for an entire dry season. I waited so long for you to return, can't you accompany me?" Gu Mingming looked up and frowned. She looked at Cole unhappily. "Fox King, are you standing in the wrong place? Your bonfire is over there. There's no place for you here. If the mountain doesn't accept me, then I can only accept the mountain. If you don't come to my side, I can only come to your side." Cole spoke with deep affection as if he was related to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming didn't want Cole to feel uncomfortable looking at her. She just felt that something was different about Cole. After sizing him up for a long time, she still could not figure out what was wrong. Cole gladly accepted Gu Mingming's scrutiny. He just smiled and opened his arms. "Gu, come here. I will let you look at me slowly, all right?" Gu Mingming's gaze stopped on Cole's face. She suddenly understood. Chapter 15-19. Leah swayed his tail and whispered into Gu Mingming's ear, "Interesting?" Gu Mingming looked back at Leah and laughed. Although Qishuan's skills were not high enough and he could not change too much, but even if he changed the smallest details, it was enough to cause the trajectory to change and create a butterfly effect. Leah went to see Cole just now to confirm if the medicinal bug had completely controlled Cole. From Lee's expression when he returned, Leah must have added fuel to the fire when they were alone. Interesting, of course it's interesting. Gu Mingming was all too clear about the state of a male in the beast world after falling in love, wasn't it? Especially for someone like Cole who would do anything to achieve his goals. He could get whatever he wanted in his lifetime. As long as he was willing to scheme, there was no goal he could not achieve. Love but not get, how interesting would that be? Cole frowned. He did not like how Gu Mingming shifted her gaze away from him. Gu. Cole called out in a low voice. Gu Mingming replied lazily, "What?" Cole was taken aback, clearly not expecting Gu Mingming to really answer him. He thought that Gu Mingming would coldly tell him not to use such a disgusting term to call her like before. But she actually agreed? His heart warmed and even his voice softened. I have not seen you for an entire dry season and I really miss you. Accompany me to the Fox clan's campfire, alright? Oh. She glanced sideways at Cole and said, Before I went to Moda Mountains, you scared Gregory so badly that he refused to come back with me, so I'm still angry now and don't want to talk to you. Cole nodded and said, So I'm not going to talk to you. He is just a guardian beast. He is also my guardian beast and one that I dote on. Gu Mingming said coldly, And you, what are you? Cole was speechless and clenched his fists tightly. He had no status. Gu Mingming's words were like a knife stabbing into his heart. He watched helplessly as his blood flowed like a river. He frowned and said, You won't be angry if I capture him back for you? Gu Mingming's words were like a knife stabbing into his heart. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, Capture? How to capture? I didn't know. Lord Fox King can fly? You can go up to Modu? Cole took a deep breath and said, I can't fly but I can get on Moto. Oh, climb up. Gu Mingming asked nonchalantly. Cole explained patiently, Didn't you send Miranda to the Moda Mountains? She should have mated during this dry season, right? Gu Mingming understood. Miranda was from the Fox tribe and was under the control of the Fox King. As long as he reached the vicinity of the Moda Mountains, he could use his status as the Fox King to order Miranda to get her partner to fetch him. Miranda's partner would definitely not allow Miranda to suffer the wrath of the Beast King and die, so agreeing to Cole's request was a no-brainer. Ha hit 3 inches before hitting a snake. Cole was really good at pinching people's sore spots. Miranda was pregnant with a child and that child was useful to Gu Mingming, so she definitely could not let Cole find trouble with Miranda at this time. Moreover, she had promised Miranda that she would keep her safe. Chapter 15:20. Cole was overjoyed. His eyes sparkled as he stared at Gu Mingming. Gu, are you jealous? You care? You care that I have other females? You care that other females bear children for me? Gu Mingming could not deny it, but she was also unwilling to admit it. She just turned her face to the side and ignored Cole. Cole took a step forward. Gu, I am so happy that you actually care about this, but don't be angry. Those lowly females are not worthy of bearing my children. The one in Miranda's stomach is just a tool to help you open the doors of time and space. I know you can't bear to part with Hudda and his brothers, so let me be the Beast King. I will create a key of the Beast King for you. Gu Mingming held her cheek and laughed coldly. Then Maya's stomach also has a key of the Beast King? At that time you were not the Beast King yet, right? Gu Mingming did not care which female Cole slept with, nor did she care about this fox's antics. She just felt disgusted that he had to pretend to be infatuated even though he was promiscuous. She could not help but rebuke him. At the mention of Maya, Cole's face was filled with a perverted pampering. His tone was filled with indulgence. Gu, I really did not expect you to care so much about me. No wonder you let Qishen pester me when you went to Moda Mountains, forcing me to stay in solder and forbidding me from accompanying you. So it was because you were angry at me? Good Gu, don't be angry. Listen to my explanation. To be honest, Gu Mingming felt goosebumps all over her body. She felt that Cole did not need to use force to kill her. He could just use this disgusting method to disgust her to death. I really did not activate the Beast King bloodline back then. That winter in St. Nazaire, I only used Maya to test the probability of stray beasts impregnating females. It was to prepare for this winter. Moreover, didn't Maya's child not even born? It was just a test subject. You don't have to take it to heart. In this world, you are the only one who can bear a child for me. Gu, only the child you bear for me is the treasure in my heart. Only the child I acknowledge. So you never intended to let Maya's child live from the start? Gu Mingming frowned, her eyes filled with disgust. Cole nodded his head honestly. Other than the ones you gave birth to, I will not allow any foxes that could threaten my position as the Beast King to exist. As Cole said that, he instinctively glanced at Leah. Lee's gaze met Cole's and he smiled faintly. Is the Fox King looking at me? Aya, you're not going to attack me, are you? With that, Leah suddenly turned around and pounced into Gu Mingming's arms. He said coquettishly and pretentiously, Mingming, look, the great Fox King is using his status to bully me again. Sobs, 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 he used to bully me like this in the past. The last time he even beat me up until I revealed my true form. Meng Meng, if you really take him in one day, I won't be able to survive. Gu Mingming knew that Leah was purposely provoking Cole's anger because the more Cole's emotions fluctuated, the more control the medicinal bug had over him and the more advantageous the situation would be for them. Chapter 15:21. Leah lifted his chin and looked at Cole provocatively. A crafty glint flashed across his long and narrow eyes and he said proudly, "See, no matter how strong you are, my Mingming's heart is still biased towards me." Leah had not said this for a long time. It seemed like, ever since they left the Snake King Valley, Leah had not said such coy words. After not hearing it for a long time, he suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. If Lee's deliberate provocation was nothing to Cole, then the gentleness in Gu Mingming's eyes really stung him. The veins on his forehead twitched. Leah and Gu Mingming exchanged glances and both of them had a tacit understanding. Cole had always been good at manipulating people's hearts and his control over his own emotions was at the peak of perfection. To fly into a rage with just a few words of provocation was really not his style. "Great Fox King, please return to your own campfire. Don't stand here and scare my partners." Gu Mingming chased him away without any hesitation. Cole wanted to speak to Gu Mingming again, but Gu Mingming just shook her head and ignored him. Cole swung his hands angrily and returned to his own campfire. However, his eyes were still fixed on Gu Mingming, as if he wanted to burn 2 holes in her body. Gu Mingming completely ignored Cole's gaze. She continued eating and playing as usual and was even gentler to Elvis and Leah than usual. They were in a mess and all kinds of "chase me if you manage to catch me, I will let you kiss me" scenes kept popping up, making Cole want to rush over and carry Gu Mingming away. Seeing that it was about time, Gu Mingming and Leah exchanged glances and stretched their bodies, saying that they were tired and wanted to go home. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and walked towards the stone castle without another word. Leah wagged his tail and followed behind. Before he left, he even winked at Cole with an expression that said, "I know you can't stand me, but it's a pity you can't get rid of me." It was especially annoying. After returning to the stone castle, Gu Mingming laughed out loud and slapped her thighs. "It feels so good." I had never seen Cole so restrained before. The way he looked as if he was about to go crazy with jealousy just now was too funny. In the past, he was the one who made me clench my teeth in anger, but I couldn't do anything about it. Today I finally got back at him. How comfortable. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's little chin and smiled with his eyes squinted. The medicinal bug on Cole's body is already 80% effective. Once it's 100% effective, Cole will become a puppet in my hands. His every move will be within my calculations. But, to activate the medicinal bug I have to plan step by step. It's very tough, so, Mingming, shouldn't you reward me? Gu Mingming only needed 2 seconds to understand what Leah meant by reward. That's true. She had struggled for a long time because of love of the sky, and it had been a long time since she had been intimate with them. Seeing that Gu Mingming blushed but did not reject him, Leah knew that she had silently agreed. However, every family had its rules and the Beast World's clans had an order that was not allowed to be disrupted. Kissing Gu Mingming's little mouth, he said, "I will remember Gu Mingming's seductive look, just take it as interest. I will go and arrange the remaining 20% of the bug in Cole's body. Don't forget to reward me on the day I succeed." Chapter 15:22. Elvis was taken aback at first, then he looked at Gu Mingming. His eyes were glowing green. Gu Mingming felt a little guilty and asked softly, Which one is it?" Leah had long left the stone castle, but he did not set up anything. He just stood guard outside the stone castle, guarding the door for them. Looking up at the moonlight, Leah could not help but chuckle. 4 years ago he had been guarding the door for them, and 4 years later, he was still the one guarding the door. But his current state of mind was completely different from then. In the house, Elvis's heart was beating like a drum. He was a little restless and absent-minded, only saying in a low, muffled voice, "Let me boil some water for you to bathe. You will feel more comfortable after bathing." Actually, he wished he could press her down right now. But she had this habit of bathing before and after, or else she would not let him touch her. Elvis would rather endure unbearable pain than let her suffer, especially on this matter. Elvis's reaction was really too strange, and Gu Mingming had a feeling that a disaster was about to befall her. By right they had already been partners for 4 years. Although she did not do that frequently, she had already given birth to 4 children. What kind of storms had she not seen before? But for some reason her heart was pounding hard today. She was more nervous than on her wedding day. "Hubby, tell me, what was that matter that Leah mentioned to you just now?" I'm really panicking. Elvis was boiling water, his back facing Gu Mingming for the first time, not daring to turn around. Gu Mingming was even more confused. She walked in front of Elvis and realized that his face was flushed with embarrassment. Looking down, she saw that he was even more excited and agitated. It was normal for Elvis to have a physical reaction to her, but she was wearing her clothes properly now, and was not aroused or emitting the fox seductive fragrance, so why was he so agitated? Not normal to abnormal. Why don't we forget about it today? Gu Mingming took 2 steps back in fear. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming with a hurt and disappointed expression. He pursed his lips and spat out a word, okay. He had clearly said okay, but Gu Mingming felt a very serious sense of guilt. He looked too pitiful, like a husky abandoned by its director, hanging his head and looking like he had nothing to live for. Gu Mingming mustered up her courage and took another step forward. She held Elvis's head with both hands and asked, "You want it?" Elvis whimpered and nodded. Gu Mingming clenched her teeth and said, "Then let's do it, isn't it just that thing? Let's go all out." Gu Mingming thought they were an old couple, Elvis would not bite her to death. Elvis's eyes lit up immediately and he hugged Gu Mingming excitedly. "Really? You agree?" Gu Mingming laughed bitterly. "I agree, what's there to disagree about?" She had already given birth to 4 children. It was too late to be sentimental now. "You're my husband. Everything we do is reasonable." Elvis stuck out his tongue and licked Gu Mingming's face harshly. "Don't worry, we already have 4 sons in our family, so I will let Leah have this one. However, once he has this child, I won't give in to him anymore. In the future, whoever you conceive will have to depend on your own ability." Gu Mingming nodded with a blushing face. Elvis added a few more handfuls of firewood to the fire and soon, the bathwater was ready for Gu Mingming to take a comfortable bath. But, how should she put it? This bath made Gu Mingming feel like she was washing vegetables before cooking. And that bundle of vegetables was her of all people. Aside from the topic, hurry, there's no time left. Hurry up and board the train. Look at the car plate. 4927792773. After boarding the train, look for the administrator to check the tickets. Babes with more than 800 fans can enter the VIP cabin and enjoy the special treatment of the fragrant meat. Note: this train is not heading to the kindergarten. Children who are going to the kindergarten, please do not sneak onto the train. This train is not heading to the kindergarten. Children who are going to the kindergarten, please do not sneak onto the train. Chapter 1523. According to Gu Mingming's previous situation, she would have to sleep for at least 3 days and 3 nights after being tormented by Elvis like this. But miraculously this time, Gu Mingming woke up early the next morning. When she sat up rubbing her eyes, Elvis and Leah were both stunned. I'll go prepare breakfast." Leah was only stunned for 2 seconds before he stood up and left the stone castle. After calling out to Oriton to prepare breakfast as usual, Oriton flew out to hunt while Leah immediately started a fire to boil water for cooking. Elvis carried Gu Mingming in his arms and asked softly, "Not going to sleep a little longer?" Gu Mingming glared at Elvis in annoyance and said, "Now you're feeling sorry for me? Why didn't you feel sorry for me when I was begging for mercy last night? My waist was about to break. Your begging was too moving and I couldn't help but want to hear more, so?" Elvis recalled the passionate scene last night and could not help but feel restless. Gu Mingming saw that he was tempted and glared at him. "Stop fooling around, I'm scared of your hungry wolf pouncing on me. I'm starving after accompanying you for an entire night. If you don't give me food and do it again, I'll really die in front of you." "Alright, I won't pounce on you. I'll feed you first." Elvis suppressed the restlessness in his heart. He also knew that although Gu Mingming had the protection of the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky, he could not go too far. If she was really exhausted, his heart would ache too. With that, Elvis carried Gu Mingming downstairs and left the stone castle together. They sat at the entrance to bask in the sun while waiting for breakfast. By right, Oriton was more enthusiastic than anyone else when it came to meals. If Leah was willing to cook, even if he did not prepare any prey, he would snatch it from someone else's house first. With the glory of being a member of the Wolf King and Wolf Queen's family, most of the wolf tribe would be willing to offer their prey to him and hand it over to Elvis and Gu Mingming. Or else, he could even catch a wild wolf guarding at the edge of the stone castle to answer an emergency. But this time he was gone for a long time. Gu Mingming's stomach was growling from hunger, but this sharing partner was still not back yet. Gu Mingming was a little surprised. She tilted her head and asked, "Could something have happened to Oriton?" Leah and Elvis looked at each other. This is solder, what could possibly happen? Gu Mingming shook her head and said in confusion, I can't say, I just feel uneasy. Shall we go and see him? Elvis and Lee's meaning was, it was just a dumb tiger, so be it if it was lost. What was there to find? But seeing Gu Mingming's worried look, they did not reject her. Leah removed the pot from the fire and placed it at the side. He dusted his hands and said, I will go hunting and bring that glutton back. Let's go together, I can fly and can see further. Gu Mingming also stood up, wanting to go together. Elvis knew that his objection was futile, so he did not insist. He just treated it as accompanying her to relax and take a stroll. Just as the three of them were about to search in the direction that Oriton had left in, they saw a person slowly walking towards them. In his hand was a tiger's leg. Behind him was a badly mutilated tiger, leaving a trail of blood behind him. He could vaguely see that the tiger was a white tiger. Chapter 1524. As for the person carrying Oriton, little shit? Gu Mingming's voice was filled with hesitation. It was indeed little shit's face. But his entire aura was completely different. How should she put it? If little shit did not have a split personality, then this person must be little shit's twin brother from the same nest. Yeah. Little shit casually tossed Oriton onto the ground, not caring about his life or death. He only said, I just happened to meet your family's tiger. I heard that it was going to hunt. I don't think it's necessary, just eat him. Leah understood Gu Mingming too well. If Oriton had died outside today, perhaps Gu Mingming would be upset for 2 days and forget about it. At most, he and Elvis would find the person who killed Oriton and avenge him. That would be the end of it. But now that Oriton had been brought back, Oriton must not die. Otherwise, it would become another knot in Gu Mingming's heart, especially since Gregory's incident had just happened not too long ago. So without waiting for Gu Mingming's instructions, Leah carried Oriton up from the ground. After a simple check, he gave Gu Mingming a reassuring smile. Don't worry, he won't die. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief. Her worried heart also calmed down. She walked up to Wabiai and sized him up carefully. She asked uncertainly, Are you, really little shit? Yeah. Wabiai glanced sideways at Gu Mingming and responded with a single syllable, appearing rather aloof. Gu Mingming frowned. His face was indeed Wabiai's, but there was something wrong with his entire body. How should she put it? In the past, Gu Mingming had called Wabiai little shit because the two of them had a good relationship and would play around without restraint. But it was also because Wabiai exuded a hopeless aura of a chunibu, so Gu Mingming deliberately called him little shit. In the past, he would explode whenever she called him that. The more he exploded, the more Gu Mingming liked to tease him. As time passed, she could not change her way of addressing him. But this person before her, the aura he exuded could really freeze someone to death. If one person had to be compared, it would probably be Snake on the eve of his rage, who had this kind of pressure. But there was still a slight difference between the two of them, because Snake would only emit a chilling aura when he was extremely angry, while this little shit in front of him was not angry but was intimidating. Even though he was clearly calm, no one dared to underestimate him. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and sniffed Wabiai. The appearance was similar, but the taste couldn't be exactly the same. Wabiai seemed to understand what Gu Mingming was trying to confirm. He neither resisted nor cooperated. He just looked like he couldn't be bothered with her and allowed her to carefully confirm his scent. Gu Mingming sniffed carefully and exchanged glances with Elvis to confirm that the person before her was really Wabiai. Even if Gu Mingming's nose was not accurate, as a beast king and a wolf, Elvis would definitely not be mistaken. After all, apart from Gu Mingming and Leah, Wabiai was the one who had been by his side for the longest time. There was no way he would mistake that familiar scent. This person was the real Wabiai. But Gu Mingming felt as if the core had changed. Wabiai, where have you been these past few days? I didn't see you when I returned from the Moda Mountains. I was quite worried. Gu Mingming did not know why she could not call out little shit to the person in front of her. Chapter 1525. I went to retrieve some things stored elsewhere. Wabiai's concise reply made Gu Mingming's heart turn colder. The person before her was not the little shit she knew. Even if they had the same body, they were definitely different on the inside. If it was little shit, he would have started bragging to her about his achievements on the Moda Mountains, pointing at her nose and asking her to kneel down and sing Conquer. And not like now, with a dignified explanation that stopped Gu Mingming from asking any further. It seemed like he had explained, but in actual fact he did not say anything. Instead, he gave off a feeling of, what does it have to do with you? This feeling made Gu Mingming feel like she had no right to continue asking. Little Shit was her friend and a very sincere one. He would never treat her like this. Either something serious had happened on the Moda Mountains and she did not know about it, or this person before her was not Little Shit. Gu Mingming's imagination was running wild. She even started to suspect if Little Shit had died on the Moda Mountains and someone else's soul had transmigrated over to take over his body. But that did not seem right. Because if that was the case, how did Little Shit find her? And how did he know that Oriton was her family's tiger? Pursing her lips, Gu Mingming did not continue asking Wabiai about what happened on the Moda Mountains. She knew he would not say it and she did not want to push him too hard and make things awkward. So she could only change the topic. Then did you see who injured Oriton so badly just now? Normally, with Oriton's status as Gu Mingming's guardian beast, the people in the beast world would have to give him some face. This was Sauter and half of the forces here were from the Wolf clan. No matter who it was that beat Oriton up, the Wolf clan would not just stand by and watch. After all, beating up a male from the Wolf King family was the same as slapping Elvis in the face. The Wolf clan would definitely not tolerate it. But the truth was right before their eyes. Oriton had been beaten half to death. Wabiai glanced at Gu Mingming from the corner of his eye. His expression was calm, but it was as if he was looking at an idiot. He breathed in speechlessly and said, "Cole." Gu Mingming's mind exploded. Wasn't it Cole? Besides him, who else would dare to do that? Gu Mingming stood up and wanted to settle the score with Cole. Elvis understood Gu Mingming's temper and did not stop her. He just carried her up and brought her along. The males of the Wolf King's family were beaten up. If he didn't beat them back, the Wolf King wouldn't be able to live in the future. But before they could take 2 steps, Wabiai asked lazily, "Are you sure you want to go now?" Gu Mingming and Elvis paused and turned to look at Wabiai. Wabiai looked up at Gu Mingming and said calmly, "Don't you feel anything different about yourself?" Gu Mingming lowered her head and scrutinized herself. She didn't find anything different, so she shook her head slowly and turned to look at Elvis. Elvis stared at Gu Mingming for a long time, as if there was something different about her, but he couldn't recall it at that moment. So the two of them turned to look at Wabiai. Wabiai pointed at the back of his neck, then looked at Gu Mingming with a faint smile. Gu Mingming turned around and showed the back of her neck to Elvis. "Look, is the mark on the back of my neck still there?" Elvis took a look and nodded. "It's still there. Is there anything different?" Gu Mingming asked again. Elvis replied, No, I can't tell." Digression. Chapter 1526. Wabiai snorted as if he couldn't stand Gu Mingming and Elvis acting like idiots in front of him. He walked in front of Gu Mingming and smiled coldly, before reaching out to strangle Elvis's neck. Gu Mingming jumped in fright and hurriedly said, "Little Shit, what are you doing? Quickly let go." Wabiai maintained his faint smile as he tightened his grip on Gu Mingming. Elvis's muscles tensed up. He was afraid of hurting Gu Mingming in his arms, so he first put her down before saying with much difficulty, "Step back." Gu Mingming didn't understand why Wabiai suddenly attacked Elvis, but she knew Elvis had the powers of a beast king. In such a situation, it was best for her to step back so that Elvis could easily retaliate without worrying about her. Gu Mingming followed his instructions and took a few steps back. Elvis grabbed Wabiai's hand in an attempt to break free, but it was clearly to no avail. Elvis raised a leg to kick Wabiai's chest, but Wabiai didn't budge at all. This was not right. Wabiai was a 5th-level beast while Elvis was a beast king. The current situation, Wabiai didn't care about Elvis's attack at all. He just turned to look at Gu Mingming and said, "Don't you intend to try your fury of the beast king?" Gu Mingming instinctively clutched the back of her neck. She saw that Elvis's face had already turned purple. Wabiai was really going to kill him. Gritting her teeth, Gu Mingming said, "Wabiai, let go." But Wabiai only laughed coldly. Not only did he not loosen his grip, he turned Elvis around and walked step by step towards Gu Mingming. Until he was 1 step away from Gu Mingming, he loosened his fingers and the unconscious Elvis fell to the ground with a thud. Wabiai's eyes widened. "Do you understand now?" Wabiai asked softly. Gu Mingming frowned and shook her head. She remembered that when she had just retrieved the soul of the forest, she had unintentionally shouted at Wabiai and he had been pinned to the ground by the Snake King's suppressive force. After that, she didn't dare to shout at Wabiai in front of him, afraid that he would be hurt by her unintentionally. But today, Gu Mingming touched the back of her neck and said tentatively, "The mark on my neck has changed again? It has degenerated into Snake's guardian mark and is no longer the family mark of the Snake tribe, right?" Not too stupid. Wabi raised his brows in approval. Gu Mingming knew that Elvis was a wolf and could not tell the difference between snakes, so he did not know the change in the mark on the back of her neck. But Wabi was a snake. In his eyes this change was very clear. With her hands hanging by her sides, Gu Mingming felt empty in her heart. Some things really couldn't be solved by running away. No matter how much she wanted to pretend that she didn't find out, she couldn't continue lying to herself forever. This was not the first time Wabi and Elvis had fought. Before they went to the Mecca Desert they almost killed each other. But a near miss was a near miss. Although their fighting style was ruthless, it did not carry killing intent. But just now, Wabi's expression was clearly that of, "It doesn't matter even if I kill him." Gu Mingming had always known that snakes were cold by nature. However, because little shit cared about her, he also took care of the people around her. She would do this to Elvis, not her little shit. Looking up, Gu Mingming gazed at Wabi quietly. "You are not my little shit and should not be Wabi either. Who exactly are you?" Chapter 1527. Wabi smiled with a hint of playfulness. "Although I don't like this title, I am indeed little shit and also Wabi. But I guess you are asking about my other identity, the identity I just retrieved from the Moda Mountains." "You are." Gu Mingming's eyes widened as she blurted out a name in disbelief. "Whales?" Wabi raised his brows and nodded with a chuckle. "You resurrected?" Gu Mingming's face was filled with shock. This news was too shocking to her. Although Gregory had told her that whales would resurrect and the beast deity had also said so. Even she had been constantly hypnotizing herself to tell herself that he would really resurrect. But when this person who had been dead for 1,000 years appeared in front of her, Gu Mingming still felt a huge impact. Wabi seemed to be seriously considering Gu Mingming's question. After thinking for a while he laughed coldly. "Looking at my current state, I don't think I have resurrected. At most, I have woken up." Gu Mingming frowned with an urgent expression. She asked worriedly, "Then what about little shit? Is it that once you're completely resurrected, little shit will disappear forever?" Wabi, "Oh no, maybe from now on," she had to call him Whales. Whales bent forward to look at Gu Mingming's eyes. He probed the confusion in her gaze and asked, "Wabi is me when I was in deep sleep. I am the Wabi after I woke up. I remember everything that happened during my deep sleep clearly, so I don't think I disappeared. But there is one thing I feel I should warn you about. Don't treat me like that fool who always revolves around you. That kind of foolish way of living is not my style. And those little things around you better not jump around in front of me again. Otherwise, I may not be so patient to talk nonsense with you next time." As Whales spoke, he looked coldly at Elvis who was lying on the ground. "Since that's the case, why did you come back?" Gu Mingming took a step forward and stared straight into Whales' eyes. Not only do you have little shit's memories, you also have little shit's feelings, right? Little shit was worried about me and was afraid that I would worry if he suddenly disappeared. So you came back to see me to let me know that you are safe, right?" Whales didn't deny it and just smiled. "You have such a rich imagination. It would be a pity not to be a scriptwriter." I haven't heard such sarcastic words in the last 4 years, right?" It seemed that this was the real Whales. After all, only he, Wang Xiaoxin's partner, would know about the future profession of screenwriter. "Then tell me, why did you come back?" Gu Mingming did not give up. Whales' gaze landed on Gu Mingming's face and he said honestly, "You are the key to my revival. If I want to see her again, I have to protect you and ensure that you are safe and sound. I have to successfully gather the 7 treasures." Whales' gaze landed on Gu Mingming's face. "That's all?" Gu Mingming did not believe him. Whales said lazily, "Don't you have her psychological knowledge? It should be easy for you to discern the true from the false, right? In other words, it was up to you to guess whether it was true or not." Gu Mingming's body stiffened, as if someone had sucked all the energy out of her. Whales might have little shit's memories, but he really did not have little shit's feelings. If it was little shit, he would definitely not talk to her like this. Chapter 1528. Leah came out of the stone castle after tending to Oraton's injuries. He had heard the entire conversation between Whales and Gu Mingming, so he didn't say much. He just helped Gu Mingming move Elvis to a shady place. "Don't worry, it's fine. Elvis will wake up soon. By then, we will go with you to settle the score with Cole and help Oraton vent his anger, alright?" Gu Mingming nodded, her face blushing. Leah rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. "Since Wabi is Whales and this is his original appearance as friends, we can only accept it, right? Moreover, his safety is the most important thing." Gu Mingming leaned her head against Li's chest. I know I understand the logic, but I just feel very uncomfortable seeing little shit like this. It's as if I've already lost him. Leah chuckled and tapped Gu Mingming's little nose. You are the one who can't see the situation clearly. Gu Mingming didn't understand. Leah said, what did he say just now? You are the key to his revival, so he has to protect you and ensure your safety? These words, even if you want to deceive those two little wolf cubs, Jiaoyu or Qixin, they won't believe you. Gu Mingming was at a loss. She looked at Leah quietly with faint anticipation, waiting for him to continue. Leah continued explaining. If he doesn't appear, there will be 3 beast kings in the beast world, you, Elvis, and Cole. If the 3 of you really fight with your lives on the line, your skills will be evenly matched. But Elvis will protect you no matter what. Cole is no match for the 2 of you, especially now that you have wings and can fly. It's impossible for Cole to hurt you. So, even if he doesn't protect you, you will still be safe. But he still came back just because he is worried about you. If he only has Wabiai's memories and not his feelings, why would he do this? Gu Mingming said, but just now, don't forget he's Wang Xiaoxin's partner. He's been by Wang Xiaoxin's side for many years. He definitely knows as much about psychology as you do. Leah smiled and continued, moreover, even if what he said was true and he only came back to help you successfully obtain the 7 treasures, wouldn't it be better if he didn't show himself? After all, it was the most advantageous situation for the enemy to be out in the open while they were in the dark. Hiding themselves, catching the enemy off guard, and dealing a fatal blow was the usual method of snakes. But he appeared so openly. Tell me, why do you think so? The smile on Gu Mingming's face gradually spread and her gaze brightened up. He was afraid that I would be worried about little shit, so he came back to tell me that he was safe and sound and that there was no need to worry. Leah nodded. You sound so cold and heartless, but didn't you still bring Oriton back? Snakes are cold-blooded by nature and are never a race that likes to meddle in other people's business. If it weren't for you, he wouldn't have even looked at Oriton. At this thought, Gu Mingming suddenly smiled. Chapter 1529. Seeing that the knot in Gu Mingming's heart had been untied, Leah also smiled. They didn't notice that at the corner of the 2nd floor, the snake stuck out its tongue, turned its head, and threw down a faint sentence, self-righteous. However, the corners of its lips were filled with a smile, and its eyes were filled with a different kind of gentleness. Elvis didn't sleep for long. About half an hour later, he slowly opened his eyes. He held his forehead and shook his head to wake himself up. Then he fixed his gaze on Gu Mingming and asked worriedly, Are you all right? Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head. I'm fine, he won't hurt me. Elvis was still skeptical. Leah then told Elvis about his analysis with Gu Mingming. Although Elvis didn't quite understand what a tsundere was, but since Leah and Gu Mingming had agreed on something, it would not be wrong. So he didn't dwell on it any further. It was common for males to fight and kill each other. Elvis also wouldn't bear a grudge against Wabiai for choking him unconscious. At most, he would just choke him back next time. But there was no need to wait for Cole to beat Oriton up. This time he had to return the favor. Elvis stretched his muscles and realized that he didn't feel any discomfort. So he carried Gu Mingming and brought Leah to where the Fox clan lived. But when they reached the borders of the territory, they realized that the Fox clan was already in a mess. Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. She thought to herself, could it be that the other members of the Wolf clan had already come to cause trouble? Scanning the area, she didn't see any Wolf clan members. Leah casually grabbed a fox who was rushing off somewhere and asked, What's going on? Ninth Highness, That fox knew that Leah and Cole were not on the same side. Although the Wolf clan and Fox clan both lived in Solder, they were on opposing sides. So, he shut his mouth and looked at Elvis with a troubled expression. Gu Mingming waved her hands. Forget it if you don't want to say. Let's go and see for ourselves. Leah shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly and let go of her. But that fox did not leave. Instead, he stretched out his arm and blocked their path. He stuttered, It's not convenient for the mighty Fox King to meet guests now, you guys, please go back. Gu Mingming found it funny that he was not afraid of death. Holding her chin, she looked at the little fox in front of her and said, Do you think you can stop me? Lord Emissary, please don't make things difficult for me. Fox King, it's really not convenient for him to see guests. The little fox was shivering, clearly afraid. Gu Mingming smiled scornfully and said, Don't tell me it's inconvenient, because you know I'm here? When you're Wu Song, it seems quite convenient. Leah flashed his claws and smiled faintly. Are you going to scram or do you want me to do it? This is the territory of the Fox clan. You can't. I'm also a fox. Leah narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. I'm from the same clan as your Fox King. We're siblings. With that, Leah waved his claws and that little fox was flung to the side. The foxes, who were already in a mess, all walked forward to form a meat wall to block the way. Gu Mingming chuckled. She did not understand what Cole was trying to do. The strongest among these foxes was only 3rd level. Not to mention herself and Elvis, these two beast kings, even Leah and the rest could not stop them. This was basically sending them to their deaths. Chapter 1530. Great Messenger. Arnold stood out from the crowd and cupped his fists. The Fox King is seriously injured and unconscious. It is not convenient for him to meet any guests. Great Messenger, please forgive us and don't make things difficult for us. Seriously injured? Gu Mingming narrowed her eyes. She didn't think the 3rd level Oriton could injure Cole so badly. Arnold nodded. Yes, the Great Messenger's friend, Wabi, attacked the Fox King. Little shit. Gu Mingming was stunned for a second before she smiled. Little shit said he didn't care about her, but his body was still very honest. Without a doubt, little shit must have, conveniently, attacked Cole when he was saving Oriton. Even if Oriton wasn't Gu Mingming's male, he was still her family's tiger. He wouldn't let an outsider like Cole bully him. Little shit was standing up for her. Gu Mingming nodded and said to Arnold, All right, I understand. Since it is not convenient for the Fox King, we shall not disturb you any further. With that, Elvis carried Gu Mingming and left. Sighs of relief could be heard behind them. It was obvious that they had been frightened out of their wits. Leah looked at Gu Mingming with a smile. Am I right? If it was just whales and not little shit, would he care about this? He wouldn't. Gu Mingming smiled brightly. She shot Leah a look. To celebrate little shit's safe return, let's have an extra dish tonight. While we're at it, ha ha ha. Leah looked at Gu Mingming's mischievous smile and knew what she was thinking. The grapes sent by Kanwu this year were made into wine by Sandy and her men. I checked them after I came back. They weren't as detailed as yours, but the taste was about the same. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little nose. But you have experienced Wabi's alcohol tolerance. Aren't you afraid he will drink all your wine again? Gu Mingming raised her head. As long as I can drink little shit back, what's a few barrels of wine? Gu Mingming was in a great mood. She hummed a tune all the way back to the stone castle. Wabi had never been one to scheme. If someone provoked him, he would usually choose to fight back. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge 10 years later, but that did not apply to him. Looking at Oriton being beaten up so badly, he would either not care or even care. Cole would definitely be 10 times more miserable than Oriton. It's a pity that I didn't see him like this. Gu Mingming was stunned when she pushed open the door and entered the stone castle. Little shit, this was definitely kissing little shit. My wine. Gu Mingming shouted at the top of her lungs. Didn't you say to rest on the 2nd floor? Why did you drink all my wine as soon as you came back? That's right, Gu Mingming had intended to take out the grape wine to serve little shit. But serving was one thing, and it was another to find a drunken snake coiled up in the stone castle like Nuwa with a wine barrel in its tail. It was half leaning on the stone castle while winking at Gu Mingming with a drunken and enchanting smile. Burp, little shit seemed to be in a good mood after drinking. Seeing that Gu Mingming had returned, he walked towards Gu Mingming in an S shape. He pushed Elvis away and hugged Gu Mingming in his arms. He whispered into Gu Mingming's ear, I am your father, really? Gu Mingming face-bombed. How could he act in a sequel after drinking himself into a coma? Chapter 1531. You don't believe me? Wales seemed unhappy. He raised his upper body and lifted Gu Mingming by the collar, lifting her feet off the ground as if he was grabbing a little chick. He shook her for a while and watched Gu Mingming swinging around his hand like a pendulum. He chuckled and said mysteriously, Look, you have Snake's mark on the back of your neck, right? I heard he's dating you over there. According to that fellow's character, you won't be able to run away and you'll definitely have to marry him. I'm his father, am I also your father? Gu Mingming followed Whale's words and thought, it seemed to be the case. Looking at the development of Snake and Gu Mingming in the dream world, there was probably no other possibility for her. But, how should she put it? Although they had the same face, the same name and even the same past experiences and memories, the Gu Mingming in that space was not herself. So Gu Mingming still felt that she could not recognize this father. Sometimes I really feel that your little mouth, Ha! Tell me, is it because your mouth is straight or is it because of fate? You wanted me to lie to Cole and say that the reason I'm not afraid of you anymore is because I mated with Wang Xiaoxin. Haha, didn't I mate with her? If not, where did Snake come from? But, I can't find her. With that, little shit let go of his hand and Gu Mengmeng fell vertically. Elvis quickly caught hold of Gu Mengmeng. He frowned and looked at Wales unhappily. Gu Mengmeng patted Elvis's shoulder and shook her head, saying, "He has been holding it in for thousands of years, it's good to let him get drunk and vent his frustrations." Elvis did not say anything and just quietly placed Gu Mengmeng on the ground. Then he sighed and quietly stood a step away from Gu Mengmeng, so that he could protect her when Wales went crazy again. Leah hugged Elvis's shoulder and said, "Put yourself in my shoes. If Gu Mengmeng insists on leaving through the doors of time and space tomorrow, would you stop her?" "Stop me." Elvis gritted his teeth. "Leah, what if you can't stop her?" Elvis frowned and said, "Follow." Lee's smile widened and he asked again, "What if she doesn't?" Elvis's brows furrowed into a dead knot, but his voice turned cold as he said calmly, "Die." Leah nodded in agreement. "Both of us have the same thoughts." Wales was the same back then. But you know what happened in the end. That woman tore off the scales protecting his heart and dug out his heart. Elvis felt a tug in his heart as he felt a strange sense of empathy. He loved Gu Mengmeng and was willing to die for her. He was not afraid of death, but if the reason she wanted him to die was to leave, the so-called heart-wrenching and bone-biting was nothing more than this. Looking at Wales' wavering drunken state, Elvis suddenly felt a sense of empathy. He turned to look at Leah and smiled. We are different from him. Xiaoming is still soft-hearted. Leah nodded in agreement. That's right. Our luck lies in the fact that Mingming's world doesn't have any worries that Mingming can't let go of, and that Mingming can't bear to see us. Therefore, although he is powerful, he is just a pitiful person. Chapter 1532. Leah was taken aback and instinctively looked at Gu Mengmeng. Standing behind Wales, Gu Mengmeng also tilted her head and pointed at her own nose, saying, "I told him." Wales turned back with a sharp gaze, scaring Gu Mengmeng so much that she shrank her neck. He did not ask anything and Gu Mengmeng confessed herself, saying honestly, "The beast deity told me." Gu Mengmeng repeated the version of the story that the beast deity told her about Wang Xiaoxin and Wales, word for word. Then she looked at Wales quietly for a while before asking, "What's wrong? Did the beast deity say something wrong?" Wales seemed to have sunk into deep thought. She did not know if it was because the alcohol had gotten to his head and caused him to be slow or his thoughts had flown elsewhere. Anyway, he was just dazed for a long time before he suddenly laughed, a very joyful kind of laughter. He held Gu Mengmeng's shoulders with both hands, his eyes shimmering with tears as he asked word by word, "The beast deity really said that she was waiting for me?" Gu Mengmeng nodded blankly, saying, "What's wrong? Things between the two of you are not like this?" Wales slowly closed his eyes as tears flowed down from the corners of his eyes. His lips were still curled up with a smile that made one's heart ache for him. "Little shit, are you all right?" Gu Mengmeng's heart ached for Wales as she looked at him. Wales nodded and said, "I'm fine, I can't be any better. Knowing that she is waiting for me, I did not waste these 1,000 years. Come Gu Mengmeng, have a drink with me." This word "me" made Gu Mengmeng feel at ease all of a sudden. Regardless of whether he was called Wabiai or Wales, he was still her little shit. Just like what Leah had said, if Wales was Wabiai's true form, then she should accept him. Although he was not as cute as Wabiai and was so arrogant and awkward, no matter what, as long as he was little shit, he was still her friend. Crossing 1,000 years and becoming friends with the husband of the previous messenger of the beast deity, Snake's father, this could really be considered as forgetting the difference in age. Gu Mengmeng raised her wine glass and clinked it with Wales without a word, saying, "A toast to you to congratulate you on your return." Cheers. Wales didn't stand on ceremony either. He downed the cup of wine without leaving a single drop behind. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to say that wine was not sorghum liquor, it was really not the way to drink it. But little shit's current state. Forget it, as long as he's happy drinking, why bother with the method of wine tasting? Being carefree was the most important thing. Wales hugged Gu Mengmeng's neck and said in a brotherly manner, "Gu Tuming, help me do something, in the future, I will help you even if I have to go through mountains of daggers and seas of fire, alright?" Gu Mengmeng smiled. This Wales acted so cold when he came back, but after a few barrels of wine, his little shit nature was revealed. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have worried about him in the morning. She should have just fed him 2 buckets and see if he would still be so arrogant. However, as long as little shit could come back, she would not be angry at him. After all, when she first inherited Snake's memories, her personality changed for a long time. Little shit had only been awkward for half a day, so he could be forgiven. So Gu Mingming raised her head and said in a very righteous manner, "What's our relationship? Was there even a need to talk about this? Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Little shit chuckled and said, "To seduce Cole." Chapter 1533. Wales waved his hands carelessly and said, "Who asked you to really sleep with him? Skay. So stupid, how can I push my own daughter-in-law onto another male's bed? Do you think I am a fool?" Gu Mingming suddenly felt speechless. Her relationship with Snake was very subtle, but she really did not seem to be worthy of being called daughter-in-law by Wales. "I just want you to plot against Cole once to make him fall in love with you wholeheartedly, because only then can his heart be used." Wales smiled in a drunken haze, with the unique craftiness and malevolence of the Snake tribe. With a face full of schemes, he said, "Do you know where the spirit of the Rocky Cliffs is?" Gu Mingming shook her head, but she had a question in her mind. Could it be that the spirit of the Rocky Cliffs was related to Cole? Wales seemed to have seen through Gu Mingming's thoughts, so he smiled and nodded his head, saying, "The spirit of the Rocky Cliffs is a derivative of the soul of the forest. For a tree to grow, it needs to absorb nutrients, and Cole is that nutrient now." Gu Mingming looked at Wales in confusion. Wales let out a drunken burp but didn't say anything. He only stretched out a finger and pointed at the air, saying, "The soul of the forest originally had two leaves, one on the left and one on the right. Both of them can save lives. They can grow flesh from bones and bring the dead back to life. Yes, that's it. But actually it still has a third leaf. Only when this third leaf grows out and fully unfurls, will the spirit of the Rocky Cliffs appear." As Wales spoke, he swayed to Gu Mingming and placed both his hands on her shoulders. He tried to make his gaze look serious, but Gu Mingming only saw his drunken expression. "This first leaf is called benevolence, the second is called kindness, the third is called a love. So, if you want the spirit of the Rocky Cliffs to appear, you have to make Cole fall in love you so much that he is willing to die for you. Only then will the third leaf of the soul of the forest unfurl." With that, Wales let go of Gu Mingming's hand and stared straight at his palm. "Only when you gather all 7 treasures, can I be truly revived, and then I can see her. 1,000 years, I have wasted a whole 1,000 years." Wales let go of Gu Mingming's hand and stared straight at his palm. Gu Mingming puffed up her cheeks and thought for a long while before shaking her head. "I don't understand. Why must Cole fall in love with me before the third leaf will bloom?" "Because you won't love him." Wales seemed to have thought of a particularly funny thing. His eyes were filled with an amused smile as he said, "Do you know what is the most painful torture in this world?" Gu Mingming replied, "Parting forever." Gu Mingming had experienced these 4 words from Snake and again from Gregory. It could be said that she was deeply moved by them. Wales shook his head and said, "Parting in life and death is a sad thing. The so-called sad thing is that although it is difficult, it will pass. Just like me, I have been suffering for 1,000 years, but when I think about how I can return to her side soon, I feel that this 1,000 years of suffering is just an instant." Wales paused before looking at Gu Mingming. "When Snake died, you must have been in great pain, but has that pain faded to the point that you can't even remember it? So, the most torturous thing in this world is not parting forever. Because although it is painful, it will eventually be forgotten and it will slowly get better." Chapter 1534. Wales laughed coldly and said, "You can't get what you want." Gu Mingming was taken aback and did not understand what he meant. Wales said, "As long as Cole falls in love with you and you don't love him, this torture will stimulate the growth of the third leaf of the soul of the forest. The more painful he is, the faster the leaf will grow. When the third leaf fully blooms, his heart, which is used as nourishment, will be sucked dry and become as hard as a rock, becoming the spirit of the Rocky Cliffs." Gu Mingming frowned and her heart was filled with lingering fear. Not because of anything else, but because the soul of the forest had been placed on Qishuan's body from the start. Gu Mingming's brows were tightly knitted together. She had always thought that the 7 treasures were all life-saving items and did not expect the third leaf of the soul of the forest, which represented life force, to be such a deadly thing. Then when Cole placed the soul of the forest into Qishuan's body, did he know the truth or was it an accident? If he knew, why did he then place the soul of the forest into his body? If he did not know, impossible. Cole's understanding of the 7 treasures was far above Gu Mingming's. He could not have placed the soul of the forest into Qishuan's body without knowing anything. So, Cole must be plotting something. Is there any way to let the third leaf bloom and obtain the spirit of the rocky cliffs without the person who is used as nourishment to die? Gu Mingming asked. Wales nodded and answered honestly, yes, if you truly fall in love with him, cut out half of your heart and give it to him, he will not have to die. After Wales finished speaking, he laughed and looked at Gu Mingming asking, do you know? If you fall in love with Cole, cut out your heart to continue his life. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, no. Wales nodded approvingly and said, so, Cole is dead for sure. Gu Mingming was not as optimistic as Wales. She could not understand Cole's motive for doing this. She did not believe that someone like Cole would risk his life for no reason. Could it be that Cole was so naive to think that Gu Mingming would cut out her heart to save him? Yes, because Qishuan's life was tied to his. Gu Mingming might really cut out half of her heart to give it to Cole for her son. But the problem was that there was an important prerequisite for such a life extension. She had to truly fall in love with him. This is even harder than cutting out the heart. Gu Mingming sighed and said, I feel that Cole should know the secret of the third leaf of the soul of the forest, and he knows very well how much I want him to die. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for him to fall in love with me and allow the third leaf to grow. Wales shook his head and said mysteriously, do you know why he hit Oriton? Gu Mingming shook her head. Wales shrugged his shoulders and chuckled, because he was eavesdropping outside yesterday. He heard the sounds of you and Elvis mating, so he was angry, jealous, and went crazy. He didn't dare to be impudent in front of you, so he vented his anger on Oriton, who was alone. Wales nodded his head seriously, indicating that what he said was the truth. Then he said softly, let me tell you another secret. When I hit him, the snake's tail was stuck into his chest, the third leaf had already sprouted a bud, so I only crippled him and didn't kill him. Gu Mingming stared at Wales, dumbfounded. Wales nodded his head seriously, indicating that what he said was true. You mean? Gu Mingming felt as if she had swallowed a fly. Wales nodded and said, Cole loves you, he loves you so much that he is twisted, so ferocious, so much that he can't see the light of day, but he really fell in love with you. Digression. Chapter 1535. Gu Mingming pursed her lips. She loathed Cole and even hated him. Every time he used Qixin to threaten her, her hatred and disgust towards him would increase. She wished she could skin him alive and break his bones. But she still felt repulsed by using emotions to feign civility. Yes, it was undeniable that Wales was right. To the males in the beast world, not getting what you want was the most heart-wrenching thing. But this situation was really despicable and Gu Mingming did not want to involve herself in it. Wales stared at Gu Mingming for a long time and understood the repulsion in her eyes. He took 2 steps back and said, now we have 6 out of the 7 treasures, we only lack the spirit of the rocky cliffs. Gu Mingming, I beg of you. As long as you help me this time, I, Wales, will owe you for the rest of my life. Gu Mingming knew about Wales and Wang Xiaoxin's relationship. It would be an exaggeration to say that she could empathize with him. You would never know how painful it was until you were stabbed. When the beast deity first told her this story, she already felt that Wales was very pitiful. After knowing that Wales was little shit, this feeling was magnified by many times. Little shit was an important friend of hers. She could not bear to see him go through a love crisis and return after narrowly escaping death, only to repeat the same mistake and fail on the verge of success. She could not bear to see him fail on the verge of success. But, is there no other way to get the spirit of the rocky cliffs? Gu Mingming asked. Wales shook his head with a bitter smile and said, if the second leaf of the soul of the forest has not bloomed, then we just need to change the provider. For example, the birdman on the Mota Mountains is very suitable. Unfortunately, the second leaf has already bloomed and the soul of the forest has already fused with Cole. There is no way to retrieve it. Gu Mingming, you need to be moral towards good people. Why can't you do it to Cole? I know you don't like to make use of other people's love. Wales looked at Gu Mingming with pleading eyes. He said word by word, but you have not done anything up till now. Isn't he still using his filthy thoughts to love you? Let me tell you, I am too familiar with the way Cole looks at you. I have seen this look countless times 1,000 years ago. It is a crazy obsession, a twisted possessiveness and a sick desire. Even if you don't do anything, he won't let you go. Oriton was just the beginning. He had used harming the people around you to warn you not to disobey him and not to anger him. What about next time? Who could it be? Hada and his brothers? Sandy? 16 golden hairpins? Or Leah, Elvis or anyone else who can coerce you. Wales held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders with both hands and stared into her eyes. He said solemnly, if you want to protect the people around you from harm, the best way is to strike first. Give him the illusion that there is hope between you and him. In order to maintain this hope, he will not dare to act rashly and hurt the people around you. What you have to do is not to take the initiative, not to refuse and not to take responsibility. When his hopes climbed to the peak, you could crush his hopes ruthlessly. As long as you were ruthless enough, the third leaf would definitely bloom. At that time, I can be with her again and you can get rid of him completely. Other than Cole, no one will be hurt. And Cole only has himself to blame. Chapter 1536. She could not tell if it was because the purity of Sandy's wine was too low, or because Wales had the previous experience of drinking too much, so he could drink more than before. This time he drank almost all the wine by himself, but he did not act crazily like the previous time. He just became more talkative, and his emotions became more agitated. Gu Mingming returned to her room and lay in between Elvis and Leah. Her two large tails covered her body and she rubbed them from time to time. She stared straight at the ceiling thinking about Wales' words. Leah and Elvis both knew what she was upset about, but Elvis was not good with words so he did not say anything. He just gave Leah a look indicating for him to comfort Gu Mingming. No matter what her decision was, they would support her. It was just that their hearts ached for her to be so upset. Leah gently tidied the stray hair on Gu Mingming's forehead. He said gently, Mingming, actually Elvis and I do not support this honey trap. Gu Mingming looked at Leah, waiting for him to continue. Leah smiled. In the beast world, any problem should be solved by the males. Let's not talk about the fact that we at least have Elvis who can fight Cole to a draw. Even without the Beast King, the two of us should be the ones trying our best to mediate with Cole. There is no reason to push you out. Gu Mingming turned sideways and hugged Leah. She buried her face in his chest and said softly, I don't mind this. Leah patted Gu Mingming's back gently. I know you don't mind, but Elvis and I are also very embarrassed to always hide behind a female. But now is not the time to care about our pride. Of course, I can set up a trap for Elvis to kill Cole, and you don't even have to dirty your hands. But if the 7 treasures don't appear and Cole dies, then Qixin will definitely be buried with him. You can't bear to let Qixin go, and that is why we are holding back. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and nodded. I know, if I can be heartless and not care about Qixuan's life, you and Elvis will not have to be held back by him. But I really can't bear to sacrifice 2,000 to kill 1,000 enemies in the beast world. As long as I can achieve my goal, I will not care about the cost. Qixin is my flesh and blood. I can't bear to part with him. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, We know you can't bear to and we won't do anything that will make you sad. Hence, Whale's suggestion seemed to be the only beneficial solution for now. Only then can the 7 treasures appear. Not only can it protect Qixin, but it can also stop Cole's crazy idea. Wales can completely revive Gu and Gregory can also return. At the same time, it can also fulfill the 1,000-year relationship between Wales and Wang Xiaoxin. It can be said that there are many advantages and no disadvantages. Leah sighed and gave a self-mocking smile as he hugged Gu Mingming even tighter. He said, We all understand the logic, but I can no longer analyze everything clearly like I did 4 years ago and use logic to make the best choice. Mingming, I can't bear to see you suffer, not even a little bit. So if you don't want to do it, then don't. In any case, I'll be happy if that door never opens. Otherwise, I'll always feel uneasy. I'm afraid that if you walk through that door, I won't be able to find you again. Chapter 1537. Leah laid out the pros and cons for her to hear, but did not make the decision for her. Leah was telling her that no matter what her final decision was, he and Elvis would support her unconditionally, and would help her deal with the aftermath as usual. So, she could do whatever she thought she should do. That night, Gu Mingming tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Luckily, Gu Mingming's body had 2 of the 7 treasures supporting her, so she was not too tired after a night of not sleeping. But the next morning, a commotion came from the stone castle's entrance, causing Gu Mingming to frown. These days, there were really not many who dared to behave atrociously at her doorstep. Elvis carried Gu Mingming down from the 2nd floor and saw a wild wolf and a wild fox tearing at each other at the stone castle's entrance. The scene was bloody, violent, and strange. It was as if a Samoyed and a husky had both contracted rabies and were biting each other to death. But the wild wolf and the wild fox's battle was much more violent. and the scene was even more chaotic. Fox King is so imposing. Did you come to my doorstep to bully me? Gu Mingming's lukewarm words successfully stopped the battle. The wolf and the fox bared their fangs to intimidate each other, and slowly retreated to the sides under the orders of their respective kings. Cole's face was pale, and even though the wounds on his body had mostly healed, he still looked miserable. It was obvious that little shit had not been merciful yesterday. If not for the fact that the soul of the forest had a third leaf on his chest, little shit would have killed Cole in a moment of hot-headedness without caring about Qishuan's life. Cole could be considered lucky to have escaped this calamity. Gu, you went to visit me yesterday, right? Cole's eyes seemed to be able to automatically block out everyone else, and only look at Gu Mingming. His smile was deep and sickly, and his voice was filled with anticipation and carefully trying to please her. Gu Mingming took a deep breath without anyone noticing and nodded. Yeah, I was stopped. A smile bloomed on Cole's face and he was overjoyed. I have already killed the person who stopped you. I skinned him to make a cloak for you. You can wear it this winter. I have already given the order that no matter when, as long as you want to see me, no one will dare to stop you. The one who stopped her was an orc, not a wild fox. Gu Mingming's stomach churned and she frowned unhappily. Don't you know I went to settle scores with you yesterday? I know. Cole was still smiling and answered matter-of-factly. If he didn't stop me, you might not be alive to talk to me today. But Cole was unconcerned. He just took a step forward and said, who knows? Maybe you couldn't do it when you saw how badly injured I was yesterday? He caused me to lose a chance to show weakness in front of you and gain your pity? Gu Mingming laughed coldly in her heart. Cole really could not differentiate between friend and foe. She was a person who wished for nothing more than for him to die. She could dig a bloody hole in his chest without blinking an eye. Even a fool could tell that the person who stopped her yesterday was sincerely protecting Cole. Otherwise, who would dare to stop two beast kings? Tell me, why are you here today? Gu Mingming pointed at the ground full of wolf foxes' corpses and said, surely you didn't do this just to dirty my place. Chapter 1538. Gu Mingming looked down at the ground littered with wolf and fox corpses. She frowned at Cole and asked, this is the food you prepared for me? Cole nodded and smiled. His "you don't have to be so touched" expression made Gu Mingming's teeth itch. Don't you know that I don't eat snakes, wolves and foxes? Gu Mingming's face was filled with impatience and sarcasm. Cole seemed to be surprised. He looked at Leah with a questioning gaze. Leah nodded in reply. Cole looked at Gu Mingming with a look of realization and said, because of your partner's race, you will also be gentle towards wild beasts? But Gu, as the messenger of the beast deity, if you take the lead in not eating wolves and foxes, then others will not dare to offend you. This way foxes and wolves will overpopulate and lack natural enemies. Maybe in the future when you walk outside the tribe, you will see wild wolves and foxes running everywhere. Gu Mingming choked and was a little speechless. So, Cole was saying that as the messenger of the beast deity, she would be a picky eater and disrupt the ecological balance of the entire beast world? Strangely, Gu Mingming thought of the Empress in the past television dramas. When the Emperor was eating, she said that he had eaten 3 mouthfuls and should stop eating. When the Emperor was drinking soup, she said that he had drunk too much and should stop drinking. The Emperor said, Empress, let's sleep. The Empress said, Your Majesty, you have to work hard and not be obsessed with women? If I were the Emperor, I would not like the Empress either. Gu Mingming looked at Cole like how the Emperor looked at the Empress. Standing on the side of justice, occupying the moral high ground and using doing it for your own good as a weapon to coerce all your actions. This Cole really treated himself as Gu Mingming's first partner. Did he think Elvis was dead? Gu Mingming snorted in disdain. She turned to look at Elvis and asked, Hubby, if I don't eat wolves and foxes, will the situation he mentioned really happen? No. Elvis answered calmly and said, If there are too many foxes, I will order the wild wolves to kill them. If there are too many wolves, I will order the wolf pack to digest internally. As for the snakes, they have lived in the Snake King Valley for thousands of years and have their own ecological cycle. They don't need outsiders to interfere. This outsider was naturally referring to Cole. Leah added, Elvis is right, after all, that Lord has already awakened, so the Snake Clan will naturally be under his command. Even if he's not free, there's still Ming, the Holy Virgin, to take care of him. How can it be someone else's turn to bark? She was scolding Cole for being a busybody. With a glance from Elvis, the wild wolves dragged all the corpses at the entrance of the stone castle away, clearing up the area. Although the corpse had been dragged away, the ground was still stained with blood. Gu Mingming clicked her tongue and said with a displeased expression, I wanted to spend the winter in solder this year, but now it's a mess and there's the smell of blood everywhere, so annoying. I'm leaving. I'll be returning to Saint Nazaire this year to spend the winter. Agu. Cole did not expect Gu Mingming to be chased away by his ruckus, so he called out anxiously, I will help you clean up the place and make sure there is no smell of blood. This year, it was better to stay in solder for the winter. After all, there's an underground tunnel here and you can still play with Sandy during winter. You won't be too bored, right? Gu Mingming looked at Cole as if she was thinking about something. Chapter 1539. I probably won't have time to play with Sandy this winter. Gu Mingming turned back to look at Cole, then at Lee's face. She smiled shyly and said, I have the love of the sky and Leah has agreed to let me give birth to a nest of little foxes to play with. Cole's eyes reddened in an instant. He grabbed Gu Mingming's wrist and squeezed out a sentence through his teeth. If you want to give birth to foxes, I will give birth to them with you. You are not allowed to mate with others. Gu Mingming glanced sideways at Cole, then looked at her wrist and chuckled, Cole, are you mistaken? You are not even my male. How can it be your turn to give birth to children with me? As long as you are willing, I will be your male. Cole looked at Gu Mingming with a ferocious stubbornness. Gu Mingming struggled to no avail, but she was not angry. Instead, she smiled and asked Cole, You are a stray beast, how can you be my male? Even without the mating mark, I can still impregnate you. Maya and Miranda are the best proof. Cole defended himself because he felt that Gu Mingming's words had a hidden meaning, as if she was giving him a chance. Hence he tried his best. He wanted this chance, a chance to stay by Gu Mingming's side. Ah! Gu Mingming sneered. Her clear eyes were filled with sarcasm and disgust. Don't you know that I have mysophobia? Why would I want someone else's used second-hand goods? Is your brain filled with hyaluronic acid? Did you even flatten the lines in your brain? Cole did not let go and said, You know that the Snow Fox tribe has no concept of chastity. But if you mind, I promise I will never touch other females in the future. You are the only one, all right? Gu Mingming did not say a word and just gave Elvis a look. Elvis's fists were already clenched tightly. Receiving Gu Mingming's signal, he raised his sharp claws and slashed at Cole's wrist. Cole's hand was broken by Elvis before and he was traumatized by it. So when Elvis raised his claws, Cole immediately let go. Gu Mingming moved her wrist and chuckled, How much do you like me? It's just so, you let go when Elvis just moved his fingers. With that, Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. Hubby, let's go. Elvis's gaze was fixated on Gu Mingming's face, not even giving Cole a look of disdain. He kissed Gu Mingming's little nose dotingly and said, All right. Leah waved his tail and smiled elegantly when he passed Cole. Cole Fox, is King Cole and Cole Fox Fox Ant. Leah. Fox and Leah T. Cole Leah Lee Leah at T. Leah Leah Wolf. So let's go back now. Elvis and I will go out and help you replenish some of your favorite fruits and vegetables. It won't be a problem to survive the cold. Goo goo, goo of goo. Goo 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 and T to Cole of goo at, to say, and. Chapter 1540. Gu Mingming could not understand Cole anymore. She patted Elvis's shoulder, gesturing for him to put her down. Elvis did so. Gu Mingming took 2 steps towards Cole and tilted her head to look at him. Do you know what price you have to pay to obtain the spirit of the rocky cliffs? I do. Cole answered without hesitation. Seeing Gu Mingming take 2 steps towards him, he smiled warmly. If you know you still... Cole took 2 steps forward and stood in front of Gu Mingming. He looked at Gu Mingming with a deep and resentful gaze. He smiled. Gregory also knows what price you have to pay to obtain the love of the sky. Didn't he still bring you up Moda Mountains? Do you think I am worse than him? Agu, let me tell you. My heart for you is firmer than anyone else. For you I can do anything. Cole placed his hand over his heart. His lips curled into a devilish smile. Qixin was trained by me. Do you really think he can hide his little tricks from me? Using bewitchment in front of me is no different from showing off in front of an expert. But I still let him do as he pleases. Why do you think so? Gu Mingming shook her head. She pursed her lips and did not say a word. Jiayu was right about one thing. You should never try to understand a lunatic's thoughts. Because you could not understand his logic. In Gu Mingming's eyes, the Cole before her was a complete lunatic. Just his plan to occupy the earth was enough for him to be locked up in the Green Mountain Lunatic Asylum for the rest of his life. Because I need a reason to treat you well openly. I need a reason to tell the world that I love you. Cole looked up and laughed. It was filled with arrogance and sorrow. His voice was a little hoarse and full of vicissitudes. Everyone says that I betray the world. Ha, but when has the world ever treated me well? Agu, you only know that I don't treat Leah well. But do you know why I hate him and schemed against him? Cole looked back. His gaze locked onto Gu Mingming's face. Because my mother has the same bloodline as Miranda. Mother gave birth to 9 children. Only one of each child survived. Because the others were eaten by their fathers the moment they were born. Gu Mingming felt a chill in her heart and instinctively took a step back. And the reason why we are still alive is not because of the greatness of parental love or the remaining kinship in humanity. Cole took a step forward and closed in on Gu Mingming. He suddenly raised his hand and pointed accurately at Leah. We are alive to feed him. Leah nodded and said, let's eat him. What? Gu Mingming stared at Cole in disbelief. Accident? Cole smiled bitterly and shook his head. He pointed at Leah and slowly wrapped his arm around Gu Mingming's waist. Finally, he hugged her once and she was so shocked that she forgot to struggle. Cole started to understand why Leah dared to reveal such a tragic and unbearable past in front of her. It was because only by tearing open his festering scars and letting her see his bloody scars, would he be able to obtain her gentleness. And the tiny Gu Mingming had infinite warmth. As long as he hugged her like this, the heart-wrenching pain would be alleviated. The pure and flawless son of the deity, shouldering the prosperity of the Snow Fox tribe. In order to obtain more power, my parents left the most outstanding one among the 9 brothers alive. Then they personally skinned and broke their bones one by one to feed him. Aside from the topic, I said before I want to kill Cole. And it was a soft knife cutting his flesh. The pain was endless and it was a killing that struck at his heart. Chapter 1541. Gu Mingming widened her eyes and suddenly turned to look at Leah. Lee's face was also as pale as a sheet. He took 2 steps back and shook his head with much difficulty, expressing his disbelief. Cole turned Gu Mingming's body and pressed her back tightly against his chest. With one arm around her waist and the other holding her chin, he forced her to look at Leah. He pressed his face against her ear and said seductively, like a snake demon bewitching Eve, word by word, otherwise, how do you think a 9th Highness who only knows how to research witch doctor spells and has no actual combat experience could rise to the 3rd level? Those brothers who suddenly disappeared, where did they go? Lee's face turned paler. When he was still the 9th Highness, he was the pride of the entire Snow Fox tribe. His meals were all taken care of by professionals, and the food was all processed and served to him. There was no skin, fur, or broken bones in the food. The raw blood was also sent up in stone bowls. As for those brothers, in the beast world it was normal for males to die in battle, so he did not think much about the death of a brother every 1 or 2 years. But now that Cole mentioned it, he recalled the crucial period of his level up. It really matched the time when his brothers disappeared. Ugh. Leah suddenly turned around and vomited while leaning against the wall. Leah had said before that he was not a kind person. All his gentleness and kindness were only given to Gu Mingming alone. He killed people like flies and never showed mercy. He placed everyone on the chessboard and calculated every possible move without regret. When he was at his craziest, it was not like he had not eaten orcs before. But his own brothers, biological brothers, he was actually cut into pieces by his parents and brought to him. He didn't even know that he was eating his own brother's flesh and drinking his brother's blood as he studied the witch doctor's method of saving people. Leah vomited until his bile came out. His eyes were bloodshot from the pain. Gu Mingming's heart ached. She wanted to go to Lee's side to comfort him but was held back tightly by Cole. He always thought that I treated him well in order to make him careless. But that wasn't the case. In the beginning, I only wanted to protect myself. I spared no effort to please him because I hoped that he would see me as more important, so that my parents wouldn't dare to do anything to me. I just want to live, even if I have to be a dog that wags its tail and begs for pity in front of him. Cole gritted his teeth and said word by word, "Ha, I succeeded. Because of his reliance on me, I was able to escape death time and time again. In the end, even my eldest brother died." Gu Mingming's body stiffened. She turned her head with difficulty and looked at Cole in disbelief. Cole chuckled. The eldest son of the Snow Fox clan will be in charge of political power. However, in order to help him ascend from level 2 to level 3, the Void Mother did not hesitate to order her males to surround and kill Big Bro. Then she delivered Big Bro's flesh to him and coaxed him into eating it. Then I would be the last of the 9 brothers except for him. Tell me, in order for him to reach the peak of 3rd level and welcome the arrival of the messenger of the beast deity in the most perfect state, will the mother beast still be afraid of Li's concern for me? That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.